Hello, my friends. We're here live on a Friday. We're getting ready for your questions. This is ForceCenter Live, and this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars pop culture, the ultimate adventure, drinking on a Friday. I'm Ken Napshaw.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and I have a gin in ginger with a Millennium Falcon floating in it that I almost tipped to the camera to show you, then pouring gin all over my laptop and ending the stream for me.
Wow. I got nothing. I literally have nothing.
Well,
but we all want to see it. Did you make? Is it the big Millennium Falcon cube?
It is the big cube. I'm trying to figure out like the right angle. If I can.
Oh, that's perfect.
There.
And a good advertisement for road products and drinks. This is
right. I should really be careful about tilting. Tilting the old camera down. I'm wearing pants. Everything's good. We're all good here. How are you? How are you, Jennifer?
I'm alive. I'm like Winona Ryder at the end of Heathers, if anyone remembers that reference. So I feel after a spring break with my children.
Did anyone fall through a glass table over there? What's going on over there?
Oh my gosh. I haven't watched the movie in years.
Well, I feel like Christian Slater all the time, so this all is good. We're having a fun time already. A lot of questions already saved. If you have questions, we'll take your Star Wars questions. We got already one that's Star Wars and life, but anything you got, get it in there. As always, super chats are welcome. They help the show keep growing. They help the show keep going. Not necessary to join the conversation, but it definitely does help when we see those bright colors, because I react to colors like a kid with a box of crayons.
I was doing some ForceCenter accounting earlier today and saw the difference of the super chats we're making. So thank you for everyone who has done super chats in the past. They do make a difference.
They do. We're ready to dive in, but a little bit of housekeeping up top. Jen, your Jedi Beat series is just kicking Star Wars butt in a nice way out there. We've got the latest one with the Katie Lucas, Inside the Mind of Katie Lucas, which now has more relevance with the Asajj Ventress returning. Marshall Lucas still do numbers, but we're going to tease. You've been working so hard on it that we have delayed the debut, but your next one is coming up soon, right?
Yes, it is. I can't remember. I think it was the second week in April is what we said. It is Carrie Fisher. There is just so much to talk about. I wanted to bring in as much of her life and her story as possible, but that means a lot of research, a lot of clips, and a lot of photos. So every time I'm like, okay, I've got the Paul Simon era. Nope. I got a whole new article that came out with Paul Simon recently. I'm like, okay, gotta add that. So, yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Man, not too many Star Wars shows take time to swing through the Paul Simon era.
No, exactly. I'm like, this is not really Star Wars, but it is. It all is relevant, I think.
Love that. And personal housekeeping. I'm going to bring this one in. Will Dixon Joseph. I was excited to see the Nightmare Adorable in Georgia as a Tennessean. Figured I'd see how long the drive was. Apparently, I will need a card that turns into a boat. But you announced some new festivals for the Nightmare Adorable.
Yeah. Still got a lot of submissions out there. Still have about 25 different festivals to hear back from, and recently heard back from 2 or 3 more. We got accepted into one earlier this week. So yeah, we've got some screenings in Georgia and Virginia, and the Georgia one also has an online component. So if you want to check that out, you can watch the whole horror festival online. One of them was also asking for a 1-minute intro video. So I get to do the Alfred Hitchcock shtick of walking inside with it going, I've made a film. Here's what it's about.
Please add some sort of smoking jacket, one of your trademark cocktails that you or Sarah make. Oh, that'd be great.
Ooh, an excuse to buy a smoking jacket. I had to.
Yes. Yeah. Good write-off.
But thanks to everyone who's been so supportive of it. It's got a little bit longer here in its festival run, and I think I'll probably put it online, YouTube, Vimeo in October for spooky times. That'll be like a year-long run in the festivals, and then everybody can see. Maybe I'll make a game of it for ForceCenter fans. There is a beat with Ken that always gets a laugh, no matter what. And maybe we'll make that a mystery when I make it available publicly. Of can people guess which is the beat that always gets a laugh from Ken?
I love that. Let's do that. I almost spoiled the beat. I would have ruined your contest. Right there. I relive it every day. Oh gosh. All right. So our first questions are coming in. Yeah. So who just favorited that? Jen, did you favorite that?
Oh, no, I did.
No,
Yo,
I didn't see
let's
it yet.
let's dive right in with that one here. Brent Bums, not bums, standing by with the question here.
Real quick, people. Somebody asked, "Hey, I know this is a Star Wars place, a Star Wars space. You can ask any questions you want. We still embrace questions of the everything. So ask whatever you want, as well as Star Wars."
Yeah. Well, here's one for you, Jen. Jen, please give me hope. We just brought home our first youngling 2 weeks ago, or 2 months. Hard to tell. What are days on a calendar anymore?
Yes, Brent bums as we say. I the first 6 months will feel like a blur. And you will find like such a joy in simple things like taking a shower, taking a little power nap, being able to like eat your lunch undisturbed without spit up all over you. But then they turn a corner and they start to be able to do their own things. And then it becomes really, really magical, and enjoy that stage. Unless then you have another, then that's when it becomes all hands on deck. But it's a lot of joy. It's a lot of joy and a lot of sleepless nights. Yes. Sleep train, I say, sleep train.
Sleep train. My buddy and friend of the show from way back when Mark Riley, he and his wife Julie just brought in their first daughter into the world. And every once in a while, Mark will send me a text that just reads tired. So tired.
A whole new level of tired. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Congratulations.
Question.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Brent Bum standing by. It's weird to use handles when congratulating people about creating new life. Good job on creating new life, Brent Bum standing by.
Yeah, good job. Off and running. Who's Jen? I as always, we got you for about an hour today, so I love when you pick some
I just need to highlight Brent Bum's follow up. I thought I could channel my inner Din. My mistake is not wearing a helmet 24/7 to hide my tears.
So that's why you won't take off the helmet. Now I understand.
Maybe you can seal the helmet for smells too. So if Grogu is making a mischief in his pod, he can just turn off the smells.
He must have been potty trained at some point.
Well, I would hope so after 50 years.
Right. This is from Neil Handstock. I know this is a Star Wars show, which is why I'm here, but I just wanted to know if any of you are watching Shogun. This came across my feed yesterday. I don't know what streaming platform it's on, maybe Amazon, Netflix. I don't know. I haven't been watching it, but I've been hearing people talking about it. So I'm curious, who is watching it? And if so, do you like it?
Hulu indeed. I have not, but it's on my list, which if you've heard me share my life details, it's not often that I watch things anymore. And I think I'm going to do a binge when season 1 is over. I grew up on the book and the show in a weird way. I think our generation, a lot of my early pop culture memories are Richard Chamberlain in the Shogun version. And then I read Shogun, the book, in like 9th or 10th grade for an English class, did a big report. So it's not even that I'm a fan or like it. It's like always kind of been around. So when I saw they announced a new, very good looking adaptation, the trailer looked wonderful. I was like, all right, I'm going to give that a go. Just haven't had a chance yet, but it's on my list.
Yeah, I have not. It has not been on my radar. I don't know why I missed it in our youth, Ken. Maybe it was something about it that looked scary to my parents. I don't know why. Like the day after is fine. Watch this thing about nuclear holocaust. Shogun, maybe a little much. Shogun and G.I. Joe, no. But here, sit down and enjoy the day after. My parents were weird. I'm excited to watch it. My wife and I have really been enjoying getting caught up on some of the later sort of prestige television. 8 to 10 episodes is just kind of like this right bite size. Get very invested in it for a short time and then move on with your life.
Right.
We're almost done watching The Silo on Apple TV Plus. Is there a plus in there?
Apple Plus TV. Yeah.
Something. Yes. They all
Apple
got
minus
a plus.
computer, whatever it is. The Silo. We really love that. For All Mankind is 4 seasons in, but that is one of our favorite shows ever. If people are curious to check that out, it's an alternate history thing where Russia makes it to the moon first, and then all sorts of things change because of it. But it's just a great character study. It's a great study of how society makes choices and kind of what's best for the group versus individual, greed and hubris. All sorts of great stuff with charming characters.
Yeah, okay. I had heard the title, didn't know what it was about. That's fascinating to me. I like alt history conversations.
Yeah. Apple is, I think, just quietly giving experienced showrunners money to make new things. And so, like, everyone I talk to is like, I've got a favorite show on Apple, but it's always a different one.
Yeah.
Which is a good sign.
Yeah, Apple. I just watched the documentary on Phil Hendry, who's creative, kind of a creative icon, influence of mine. And I didn't realize, Joseph, he spent a good portion of the 90s in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
Radio
Amazing.
there when he was just kind of establishing himself. So,
Wow.
Exactly, Mala. Exactly. It's okay.
Nice to see some other people in the chat have watched For All Mankind. Cameron is saying For All Mankind is amazing. Started watching it because I heard Alex Damon hype it up, and it was so worth it. I can't remember how Alex and I figured out that we both watched it and had a great conversation. Then the next time we saw each other, For All Mankind.
You know, for shows like this where there's crossover, we should just do, there should just be Explained Center, where we all just talk about things that aren't Star Wars. Other Center, Star Wars Explain. It all crashes into each other.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I highly recommend with Donald Glover. So good. Really, it's really awesome. Really, really awesome. That one's on Amazon, though. So,
Yeah.
not Apple Plus.
We're a streaming guide.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
A lot of questions already in. This is wonderful. Appreciate the super chats already coming in as well. We'll get to those. Miscellaneous Center's good.
Let's just clean up. What's been left behind. Miscellaneous Center.
Love that. All right. Who's up? Joseph, you want one? You got one?
Sure. There are a lot of good ones. We'll want to throw up this very kind super chat from Dave McHugh, who says, relatively new fan here. Love seeing folks my age talking Star Wars on YouTube. The original trilogy came out when I was 4, 7, and 10.
Wow.
So I'm slightly older, but I appreciate your OG perspectives on everything. Thank you. Yes, only very slightly older than me, Dave. Thank you very much for the kind super chat and for sharing that perspective. I'm going to take this off the screen so we can see all of Jennifer. It's been one of the greatest journeys we've talked about a lot, is getting to hear all sorts of different people's perspectives on Star Wars. But it's also been nice to just really lean into, I feel this way because it's when I was born. I got these Boba Fett opinions because that's the conversation, and own my truth without having it have to be everybody else's truth.
Yeah, love that. When the OG perspective that we are going to have, it's going to be the way it is, doesn't trample on the other perspectives, is one of the joys I've had here, because I started stamping out perspectives in '99. I was starting to head down that path, and thankfully we're there. But also appreciate newer folks coming in, and that's a wonderful thing too. With the Marshall Lucas episode doing some good numbers, it brought in some new faces and names. So you might be hanging out with us for the first time live. This is what we do most of the time. So once a month live stream. So welcome to any new members, and fans, and listeners.
Nouns.
Nouns.
Humans.
Friends.
Gungans.
Oh
my gosh.
man.
Wait, is anybody going to go see because there's marathons, right, that are happening. But then there's also going to be some maybe like standalones, like Return of the Jedi, potentially, right? Am I correct in that?
What I know is,
Phantom
there's the big Phantom Menace re-release that's over 3 or 4 days, and then here in LA, El Capitan's doing the entire Skywalker saga on May 4th.
Okay.
And I don't know after that. Maybe there are some other things, but I don't know anything because I just looked up the other day to see when I can get my Phantom Menace tickets and where I want to go and all that.
And you didn't see just the Phantom Menace tickets? Just the marathon. Oh, you did find just the Phantom Menace tickets?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty much, it's in most there. It's at El Capitan, which if you're in the LA area or are coming to visit, I highly suggest El Capitan. It's a Disney's theater, which is just like a little bit of Disneyland plopped down next to Jimmy Kimmel's studio in Hollywood. And then it's at all of the AMCs. It's at the Grove. It's
done.
And it is for more than one day, right? I had misunderstood. I thought it was just a May 4th thing. But okay.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I thought I was going to miss it due to travel, but all right. Now I'm going to target some tickets. I want to go. I want to go. I'm
make
gonna
it.
wear a Brian Ward pod racing shirt, and I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I got a Kenobi shirt on from
Oh, look
Brian
at
Ward as
that.
well. I love this one. David McKay says, I'm seeing the Phantom Menace in 40X. I didn't even think of doing that.
What?
I got to look into that.
Wow.
Yeah.
See you again
Incredible.
for the
Does
first
that mean like
time.
wind? Is that what that means? Like you'll feel things?
The
or
wind and I think they're different levels. There's the wind and the vibration, and then sometimes the misting. I think they've backed off on the misting because people didn't want to just get like, you go to see Avatar and you're just soaked the entire time. Yeah,
they just dunk you in a tank.
I saw Scream, whatever number we're on, 5, I believe, the last one in one of those, and it was mostly vibrations, but all directional, so that it would, so you would be, if somebody's getting stabbed from behind, you get rocked from behind.
And look, I stand by Anakin and his sand stance, but I appreciate sand jokes, and I like Matthew Stokes. They throw sand at you, and it gets everywhere.
And I'm not going. I hate sand.
I really want to know if there's vibration and wind for the EOP fart. That's the main reason I want to see the Phantom Menace in 40X.
What? I gotta go to this.
Yeah.
And then somewhere George goes, just as I intended.
Yep. It's finally right. This is what I wanted.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh, we're having fun already. Thank you. Well, speaking of Brian Ward, how about this one here? Because I got the answer. How many Black Series Luke figures did Ken pre-order this week? The answer is 0. But I'll say this. I even was chatting with our figure-loving buddy Ken Plume about this. It's one of those figure sets with Mara Jade, Luke, and Jorith, however you choose to say it in your home. I like that those figures exist, and it's I would consider getting them as my collecting days are kind of waning. I still would consider that, even the Luke, just because it's such an interesting and important part of Star Wars' eras.
Yeah, I mean, people. Speaking of perspective, people who started on those books and loved them. I saw that and I was like, well, I'm always happy when there's an action figure that's not for me because I need to not get as many. And I'm not going to get that set. But if they sold Luke standalone, I zeroed in on that face. I was like, oh, wow, they made Luke. If anybody hasn't given themselves a treat, look at the ad for those Heir to the Empire figures and zoom in on Luke's face. He is making this awful little grimace. It's really, really funny. Anger can be hard to sculpt on an action figure, and it's beautiful. It looks like he has wind blowing at him in a 40X theater.
Looks like a EOP farted at him. I love it. So 0. Jen, I know your collecting days are a little bit different now, but Jade, Jorith,
Sabayoth. I can't even remember now. But yeah, that Luke one really took me by surprise. At first, I was like, "Wait, what?" And then I went, "Oh, that Luke!" And the face. The face is a little terrifying.
Yeah,
it's a little bit.
But like you said, I'm glad that it's there for the fans who love Luke.
Yeah, and. Next question: do the Heir to the Empire figures come with hot chocolate? It should. Just maybe not like hot chocolate. Yeah, just maybe Nick means like a little pack in the back, pack of Lando's hot chocolate.
Oh my gosh.
I would love a cinema scene of that opening. I haven't read it in years, where Obi-Wan Kenobi is basically telling Luke, like, I'm not going to visit you anymore, and Luke's drinking hot chocolate.
Just like a ghostly figure of Kenobi that's kind of half there.
Bye.
Yep.
Your hot chocolate.
They're not going to let me do a cloned evil version of Kenobi as the villain, so I'm going to write him out. That's a little bit of that. A little bit of that. There you go. We're off and running. There you go.
All the good Zahn did will never overcome that one extra vowel.
Yep. Well,
that's true. That's true.
Hey, I think it's pretty well in line with Savage Opress. I think we can only poke so much fun at W. When we got characters with that fun of a name, is good old Savage Opress.
Yeah.
Savage, love it. Beautiful. I'm gonna freshen up a little drink. What Jen chooses a question, I think.
Oh, okay.
More Sprite into the rum.
This is interesting. PLD Projects asks, what do you think Wrecker's thoughts on the hot dog, sandwich or not? debate is.
I'll set some context. So PLD, Paul Denuzzo, and Maddie Gunner have their Star Wars show, Holy Snokes, on the PLD Projects page, which I check in on often and love those two boys. And they started this last week's episode with this idea that maybe Maddie kind of put out there, but Paul kind of agreed with. Then on my live stream yesterday, I just attacked Paul over this, where they kind of think the hot dog is a sandwich. And I reject that on many levels, but I'm open to the conversation. But phrasing it through the eyes of Wrecker is interesting. I think I want to get you guys' overall takes, but I think Wrecker just sees it as food, and he doesn't care what you call it, is where I would start.
I feel the same. I feel like Wrecker would find the conversation an annoying distraction to getting that meat in his gullet.
Yeah, he's not picky. But the hot dog is not a sandwich. I will state that claim.
God bless you. Okay.
I mean, because like if I think about it like a category, right? It's its own category. The hot dog. It is neither a sandwich nor a I don't know what, right? It's like a mini entree. Like,
the bun is just a holder you can eat.
yes,
And that's and that's where the creation of it kind of comes from. I mentioned this on my stream, but the Ken Burns baseball doc goes into the creation of the hot dog, and it was exactly what you said, Joseph. You can't hold this hot meat in your hand for too long. You got to put something in there. Why not eat it?
My biggest thought on this debate is that a hot dog is a Christmas food and Die Hard is a sandwich movie. I think that's the answer to this endless, timeless debate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Oh, there's lots of opinions here. Hot dogs are just weird tacos. I like that. I accept that.
Schrodinger's meal. It's both a sandwich and not a sandwich. A lot of people calling for the open face sandwich version. Laserbolt saying the pizza's an open face sandwich. I roll my pizza anyway, so that's right.
I think an open face hot dog would be only the wiener resting on only one half of the bun, only on the bottom half of the bun. That to me would be an open faced hot dog.
I think it'd actually be split down the middle, right? So it's like, and then it's lays on both sides.
You split the wiener.
You split the hot dog, down the middle. Have you guys done that before?
Well, a lot of times, like if I'm
The long
microwaving
way?
a hot dog, I'll slice it down the middle, which I don't do often. But
Oh, like open it.
and then you open it, so
and then
it's
you
like
push
this,
it down. Yeah.
and then the
Like
bun
little
is on top.
hot dog butterfly wings. It spreads open.
Exactly.
Do a little butterfly suture.
Exactly.
Jen, what is the younger generation's current view on the hot dog in your house? You have two demographic samples to pull from here. Your daughters have a thought on hot dogs as a
Love
food? Is
it.
they love it?
Love
Okay.
it. They love it. There was a period where they didn't, and I would make it into like this octopus shape. I can't remember now, but I would make like the little tentacles. It was really cool. I forget I boiled it. It was just too complicated. Just keep it simple. That's what they prefer.
I hope that there's tales of the Bad Batch where it is nothing huge. It really is just them having debates about meals, because like Tech would not, I think, be able to let go. Tech wouldn't be able to live with the mystery, right? Wrecker would only care how it tastes,
Right.
if it needs spice.
It's true.
Hunter would be able to smell, if there is a hot dog nearby from 100 miles away, 100 clicks away.
Right.
But Tech would not be able to live with this and would be Googling various Republic databanks to understand fully the etymology of sandwich.
Of how we arrived to this. And Maddie Gunn is trying to clear his name. Says, I want on the record. I said it's not a sandwich, as you were. So it was Paul with the problem. There you go. Do they still make SpaghettiOs with hot dogs in them? I think they do. I hope they do. Ed J had this, my favorite comment, because it's only a sandwich. Your parents didn't buy buns and have to put on sandwich bread. Yes, that happened a lot in our house. I think I had a lot of hot dog sandwiches. So
what is it when your mother doesn't even want to microwave the Oscar Mayer wiener with the cheese in the middle and just feeds you a wet, cold cheese product dog. What happened to me? Is that, should I have called social services? Is that what happened to me?
Oh my god.
I was gonna.
Oh no. Oh no.
What? Something jumping out. I was gonna ask you, Joseph, if they're like, look, the Twins. You got a great stadium, a great team, and I'm sure they got hot dogs. But I don't know if that's kind of a regional thing too. I'm not saying hot dogs are Southern California only. Certainly not suggesting that. But the relationship to the Midwest, to the Upper Midwest, to hot dogs is something that's curious to me too.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's lots of opinions more about various sausages and whatnot, and fairly large Polish community in Minneapolis, so there's some heritage there with great sausages. The Twins don't have anything like Dodger dogs that I remember. I could be wrong, and the entire state of Minnesota might be screaming at me right now, so I'm going to stop talking.
I'm gonna silence myself. A lot of people, I agree. We need Dex's opinion from our friend Jack at Oscar Film Forecast. Mantel mix is a meal. I agree with that. Great stuff. All right, I think we settled it. We all kind of agree that hot dogs are the right category.
What is this, sorcery?
See.
It's not sorcery. It's dark science secrets only Oscar Mayer knew.
But this backs up my other theory that's a little more explosive and dangerous because of Matty Gunner's UK born and bred perspective. I question whether or not the UK knows what to do with hot dogs, and I don't have a lot of proof of that. I just was wondering. I don't know. It seems like a very American meal. And I just wonder how it's done over there. Joseph, you've spent more time over there than I have, for sure.
Yeah.
If you've had any British hot dogs, is what I want to know.
I have not. I haven't encountered much British beef, but not a hot dog myself.
Yeah, that every time I say that, David McKay claims I'm out of line. But yet he hasn't offered proof that he and fellow UKers know what to do with a hot dog. I don't know. All right. That's the one.
Okay.
That's the conversation I wanted to get to today.
At the risk of this continuing and not getting into any Star Wars whatsoever, I love these conversations. Nick Arcus asks, are pigs in a blankets? Does anyone know what I'm referring to? My understanding is that there are many different dishes that are called pigs in a blanket, and they are entirely different beasts depending on your region and background. Jennifer, what are your thoughts on pigs in a blanket?
I think I've had something like, it's like the cocktail hot dog that I've had wrapped in like some sort of bread pastry kind of thing. I've had those.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure that there's other types of larger ones, right?
I
go ahead,
love.
Ken.
No, I love what you're. If someone brings that out at the wedding, I'm stalking the server the next time. I find where the door is and I stay by it if they got those.
So good.
But for me, pigs in the blanket is pancake. Like it's a breakfast meal almost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that's what I grew up with. Is like Denny's had pigs in a blanket that were like sausages wrapped in pancakes.
Yeah. Why not
Okay.
just put all of it into one meal and destroy yourself? Yep.
That sounds
He
right.
said, "It says looks like I joined at the right time."
Sorry.
I just got here. Wow. Cocktail Wiener Center. LOL.
Let me rank.
Marissa, we're glad you're here, and you are at the right time. Yeah.
We eat hot dogs here in the UK. Personally, I like mine with HP sauce. Now,
Okay.
anybody just tuning
Harry
in,
Potter sauce.
we were wondering about whether or not what the UK situation with hot dogs were. But I like that Neil sounds really authoritative. If you don't know the context, we eat hot dogs here in the UK. Personally, I like mine with HP sauce. Smiley face.
He's delivered it like Hugh Grant's Prime Minister speech in Love Actually, standing up for the UK. We eat hot dogs here. It's not just American.
Beckham's right foot, for that matter. We eat hot dogs.
This Lawrence Fletcher says pigs in blankets or sausages wrapped in bacon. That's right. That's gotta be right?
I've
Well,
never heard,
it isn't right. There's
I've never heard of
different
bacon.
kinds.
Yeah,
pigs in the blanket. Yeah.
it's always pancakes where I'm coming
delicious.
from.
That's all I know.
Okay. And Ken Plume says in the UK it's bangers in a tea towel. See, there you
Wait,
go.
what?
There
No,
you
it's
go.
not. Oh
Bangers
my gosh,
in a
it's
tea
amazing.
towel.
That
Bangers
is
in a
true.
tea towel sounds like some Guy Ritchie movie we haven't seen yet. That's what I
Bangers
think.
in a tea towel. Oh, God, I love British people.
All right. Star Wars it is then. Jen,
We'll
do
get
you
back
want
to this.
Yeah, or do you got one, Joseph? I was going to get Jen
No,
since
go
you're
for
still
it.
here, but go for it. If you got another one, Jen, if you got a Star Wars one.
I'm just stuck on the bangers in a tea towel.
You know,
Okay.
it's a kink song too.
Oh, okay. We kind of touched on this. Gaz Nottingham, hello there. I have a question. Do you have any predictions on the next animated Star Wars project following the end of the Bad Batch? I think for me, I think it's Tales of the Jedi, based on how much they're teasing Asajj Ventress. But I do wonder what the next like series is going to be. The Bad Batch, I felt like it kind of surprised me, but maybe it's because I wasn't as clued in as everyone else.
Yeah.
So is it going to be something totally new? An extension of Omega's story? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Tales of the Jedi, a season of it is announced. So I think some of this Asajj speculation is, are those in the can? Is it done? Is that, coming out soon? But I mean, that is also a great prediction of maybe Tales of the Jedi is going to be expanded to. It's a 10 episode, half hour, anthology series kind of thing.
That'd be nice.
The sense in spoilers for this week's Bad Batch, if you haven't watched it yet and don't want spoilers, warning. That sense that we all discussed and so many other people did, that an end game for the show is Omega needing to move on, and this being the end of the road for now for the Dad Batch. But Omega's story might go on, and that excitement about what is the path, that seems like a lot of storytelling that could involve lots of different characters, and Omega's relationship with Asajj. I do feel like that seems like it has some potential. I think whatever they do, I think they might continue the Clone Wars style animation rather than a reinvention, because I think there's also the financial reality of all of the machinery being in place to keep this in the team to keep this production going, rather than designing something new like they did with Rebels and Resistance.
Yeah, and this is a great like temperature check kind of question of we did do this on another episode, like you said, Jen, and post Omega Ventress showed up this week, there's been a lot of even saw our buddy Molly Damon tweet about, there's been a lot of use of the phrase backdoor pilot this week, and when Bad Batch showed up in Clone Wars, that kind of had that was the feel, even though I don't think I definitely didn't predict that was coming, but it had that like, wait a second, there's a little bit of that vibe this week, and then combined with the unofficial official comment from Jennifer Corbett about her her return is going to be addressed, all that stuff, and another storytelling, so I'm more intrigued by that, but in terms of a series, I see a lot of people talking about a High Republic series. That does make more sense to me even now with Acolyte coming out too, that they would just kind of mind that even more.
It's interesting to me of who would be poised to be the creative lead on that, because the more I think about it from the kind of crunchy business perspective, a lot of this stuff is, who do they have a relationship with? Who do they trust? And, I think Dave Filoni was clearly too busy to show run Bad Batch, but it sort of emanated from the legacy of Clone Wars. And for him, and his is even though he's not the showrunner, he's not doing the day-by-day work, his name is still the first name you see in the credits. So like, while a High Republic show makes a ton of sense to me, is that, is there somebody in the right position to be the person taking the lead on that? And if the new animated show is going to come out anytime in the next couple of years, I wonder who that person is.
Yeah, that's a great point too. Just not only with his, in-house promotion and where he's going in terms of like live action, the movie, and all those conversations we've had. Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett and Athena Portilla, like all those people on this team, like, does that team stay together? Do you get a new team in? Is that too much work to get a new team in? And all these answers, all these questions might have answers already, because the lead time on animation is already, obviously long. But yeah, would you want a new perspective or people who are really steeped in the High Republic? And I'm not saying you wouldn't have an author. No author's going to be the showrunner of that. But would they consult? Would they work on it? That would make a lot of sense too. So even as I think about it, yeah, you're right. There's a lot to that transition.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a High Republic show. I just feel like, if they want to keep rolling, they're poised with the creative team and with the momentum of Bad Batch to do something like in Asajj or Hidden Path show.
A lot of people calling for a Hidden Path too, right? A lot of people in chat, a lot of people out there. Verissa, excuse me, talk about the hint of Quinlan and Kenobi. which might have just been a fun reference. But why not make it a hint? Why not someone go, hey, wait a minute, I got an idea. Could be there.
Yeah, if you jump far enough into the future, you got Reva. There's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
Ken, you need to raise that drink holder up again there. Is that a Game of Thrones?
Yeah, it's we were doing some we were doing some house readjusting. We had we didn't move or anything. We had one of those like, let's readjust. And I found this buried somewhere. And it's like, this is now my show cup. This big, obnoxious Houses of Westeros.
It's beautiful. It makes me feel like that I'm at some Middle Ages adventure, some sort of Renfest while talking about Star Wars. Love it.
I'm eating a hot dog with no bun, just shoving it down my throat.
Here's one that is not a question, but a very kind super chat. Jackson Gavin says, first time watching live. I bartend, and this is a rare Friday off. Love the Marshall Lucas Jedi beat. Love the way you all share a positive Star Wars ethos with the world. Thank you very much for the kind super chat and the kind words. Jennifer, any thoughts on the Marshall Lucas Jedi beat? Love?
Oh, thank you so much, Jackson, and congratulations on having a Friday night off. I remember my bartending serving days. It was a rarity, so enjoy it, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah. And it's been going well. Been going well over there. More eyes on it brings more opinions to the comment sections we talked about, but it's still relatively good.
Yeah, still even when there are comments that I disagree with, so far they're mostly polite in their disagreement.
I appreciate it. I appreciate any discourse, and when I put these things together, I kind of feel like I'm in my own little bubble. So it's always nice to get other people's perspective and how they see it. So
yeah. Can I just say the only thing that has made me I finally had a comment on it back to someone, and Jen, we should clear the air. You know how to say Ellen Burstyn's name. It came out wrong. It made it past an edit because that's the least of our concerns. And I'm just tired of the lectures of the name.
Oh my gosh, Ellen right. We get
that about every third comment. It's set. We know. It sometimes edits things slip by.
I've said all sorts of things over the years. I wouldn't say like necessarily mispronouncing it, but yeah, sure, it happens. We're human. I'm not a robot as much as I would like to be.
I don't think AI is going to be any better at pronouncing names. So.
Guy, right.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of animated series, here's a super chat from I'm the Ben Dude. The guy in the middle, man. The Ben Dude. After Acolyte ends, who's in for an animated series called The Young Palpy Chronicles to bridge to Phantom Menace? Great show, you three. Thank you for the kind words. I'm the Ben Dude, and the super chat and the question. Young Palpy Chronicles.
Gosh.
Sheev grows up.
Coming of age story.
How I Met Your Sith Master. What do you feel?
Young Sheldon becomes young Sheev.
Yeah.
Ken, what are your thoughts?
I really like the idea in theory. How it would actually play out, might be what determines it. Of course, that's execution is the big factor in all these kind of what if and wonderings about future Star Wars content. I definitely wanted a young Sheev was something that was talked about a lot at the old job I had, and I don't want too much of his origin. I don't want too much of an understanding of who Sheev is. I just need him to be what he is, an evil Sith Lord trying to destroy, oppress, and get more power. But if you make it a political show, make it his rise. I do love the James Luceno book, as I've said before, the Darth Plagueis novel, which has a lot of this stuff in it. It made me back then into 2012 kind of reevaluate Phantom Menace in a way I hadn't done in a few years. Especially that was during the era of the pizza roll phase where everyone had fun poking what they thought were smart holes in the end of the movie, which weren't actually smart and insightful takes on it. So I'd be up for exploring it. But you know what I mean? Of just like, I don't want to feel sympathy for him on any level. That's not why I'm coming to the Sheev party.
Yeah. I think for me, it's the I have my little bit of head canon that I like. I like the Darth Plagueis novel. I like Sheev's elements in it. And it's not like I'm against hearing anything about him. I think for me, I feel like to me the ethos of Star Wars is no one is just born a monster. You know, I haven't read Darth Plagueis in a while. I can't remember if they deal. I can't remember how it's pitched, to be perfectly honest. So if you remember and want to remind me in the chat, that's just fine. Can't remember if it's kind of pitched as he had a difficult family life, or if it was pitched as that Sheev was never right. I don't like for Star Wars myself that boy was never right. I feel like the story of Star Wars is trauma can lead all of us to bad choices, and it takes strength to not act on the pain and the horror. So I love the headcanon that something happened to Sheev, and we can understand and sympathize with his pain, but we can't agree with his choices, which is always the story I like. So I just like having that headcanon that Sheev, unlike some of the dark side characters we've known, just he's not capable of taking a step back and going, maybe I shouldn't do these things. You know, maybe I'm the weak one. He's not capable of that. I don't know that I need to see it. And I think more than anything, it's just sort of the era we're in of we've revisited a lot of legacy characters, and we've had lots of shows that give answers. And I understand that there is not everybody feels this way, but there is a large portion of our culture that's frustrated with the amount of legacy characters and anything that verges on explaining something. So it's not even for me. It's more I just don't want to have the conversation again about that element.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of the political side, I'm very interested in it, but his rise might just be boring up into Phantom Menace. Like the politics between Phantom Menace and Attack the Clones might be even more fascinating for me. Which, once he's already in power, but he's still new. He's a new chancellor, and the mask has to be on. And the people around him are starting to either be wary or, hey, this guy's got some good ideas. I like what he's doing. Like that would be interesting. So, middle-aged Sheev show, that might be what I'm pitching.
I'd take a Tales of the Sith, and you can just bop into, little bits of his time with Darth Plagueis and that kind of thing. I think that's always the challenge too of Tales of the Sith. It sounds cool to me. It sounds fun. But how do you not just wallow in darkness? Yeah.
And he's used so effectively the Bad Batch. I was rewatching right before this season that episode where he pops up during the Rampart downfall episode, the clone conspiracy stuff, and the horns, the alarms, the arrival of Sheev. Oh my God, it's so good, and his stuff this season is good too. But
the Senate manipulation where he's like, well, I don't think we can trust these clones. Got to have stormtroopers.
And Jen, your thoughts, of course, too. But Sheev's West Wing. We got House of Palpatine cards, and Littlefinger era Sheev. He's Littlefinger. He's got a little coming up. He might be a little Littlefinger Baelish.
Yeah, I think weaving him into a bigger story. I don't know about just the standalone of him. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. They could prove me wrong, and I'd love it. But yeah,
prove me wrong, children. Prove me wrong. Yeah,
prove me wrong.
Yeah. We got the Acolyte, and there's been a follow-up interview.
Wait a sec. Could Sheev just be an evil clone of some dude called Shev?
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Oh, that's amazing. But with the Acolyte, and there's a follow-up interview that I haven't even read yet with Leslie Headland in Entertainment Weekly, I believe. Kind of saying, I wanted to do a show about the Sith, and so that kind of confirmed for me some of the stuff coming up in the series. I still don't think it's got anything to do with Palpatine at this point in the timeline. So we still got some room to get to stuff. But I don't know. You said so earlier, headcanon. I think we all have enough headcanon of Palpatine where it just counts. Whatever you think counts.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that is some of the frustration with the explanation stories is, it's not like telling a brand new story. It's you're upending somebody's thoughts always when you're doing those. Anyway. Ken, you haven't picked a question in a while.
Oh, what an accusation here. Let me see. Let us go. Well, we're in this. I'll highlight our buddy Ken Plume. This is needed more. Jedi beat and the Phantom Menace commentary stat. We got 25 years of Phantom Menace. We're almost at our goal. and we'll announce a voting on Patreon for a movie commentary. Phantom Menace could work, but we'll leave it up to the people there. And then we've got this one. We're in the vote. If we get a Hidden Path show, which characters do you want to see? Love Asajj, Reva, both are ex-Darksiders who chose a different path. This is a great question, and maybe even sub question I'd throw in there. Jen, I'll toss it to you first. Of when the formation of the Hidden Path, after going forward after the events of Kenobi, you could go different directions.
I don't even know. After,
I'd be interested in. I would be selfishly want to go towards the beginnings of the path because you got characters, and one of the characters I would want is Indira Varma's character. Even though she left the show, just one of my favorite performers. Obviously, the Game of Thrones connection, but so much more. Rome, all that stuff. But bring her back. An Imperial officer getting connected with it. That's interesting. The origin of this might be pretty good. And those are names I'd want in it. 2, Reva if you're going forward. Maybe Asajj if you're establishing it.
Yeah. I think for me, it would be really interesting if it is the Hidden Path via Asajj and Omega. It would be interesting to start, I don't know. I like the ambiguity in timelines in Star Wars, where sometimes they super clarify, and then I ask Alex of Star Wars to explain it to me. But it feels like Bad Batch has been going on a while now, where we're a little ways out from Revenge of the Sith, so that you could have a couple little time jumps in get up to 10 years. So if the beginning of it started with Omega and Asajj have been training and working with the path for a year, so it's kind of the origin of it. You get some good tensions there of what's the point of the path. When we find it in Kenobi, it seems to be bring them to safety. But Asajj had that strong reaction that if Omega is force sensitive, then she needs to be trained. So that would be a really interesting part of the formation to me, if there's tension between, are we trying to raise a little army, or are we just trying to keep people safe? We've had lots of good storytelling of what is a Jedi's responsibility and what is their role in this time, where they don't feel like they can quite, the Jedi Fallen Order video games have dealt with that in a really interesting way. So that would be really interesting to me to start with. What is the philosophy of it? And then jump forward so we can catch up with Reva. Damn it, I want more Reva.
Yeah. There's a big ellipses on her story right now, to the point where sacrilegious as it might seem, but we're continuing the adventures of Kenobi and Qui-Gon and getting up to New Hope. I would love, underline love, but I don't know if I could live in a world without that. Right? There's enough headcanon I could fill in, but Reva, I'd love to explore where Moses Ingram could take that character.
Yeah. Wanted to grab this follow-up from I'm the Ben Dude. I actually don't want to see that series either. I just wanted to say Young Palpy Chronicles. And clearly, everyone in the comments, even in the middle, says Alan Smithy, I think is grateful for the gift that you gave us to talk about the Young Palpy Chronicles.
Yeah. But a lot of I just find it interesting that a lot of people have gravitated towards this idea of the hidden path. It's just an idea that it's pretty powerful in Star Wars when you think about it during this era. Keep it in line with the idea that a lot of Jedi survived and the Force keeps going. So kids being Force sensitive is the thing that still happens, despite an OG kid like me, OT kid. I didn't think of that in those terms, right? I thought the Force was just waiting for Luke. That's not right. It's not what George intended. Not what's actually part of the story. So it'd be fun to explore. Yeah.
Let's see. Any other thoughts on the path from you, Jennifer, before we grab another question?
No, the only thing I would say is that I really like the way that they presented it in Kenobi. It really did feel like there is this whole other, world, chapter, whatever you want to call it, that made all of us go, oh, I could see a whole series around this. Yeah, I thought that was very, very well done in the show.
Yeah, it's just so exciting to me to think of all the different perspectives, from parents of very young children to Padawans to an adult Jedi like Quinlan Voss. There's just such an interesting version of that kind of community.
Absolutely.
Cool. So here's we got.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, because we have two questions that are very similar. Pull them both up from our friend PLD Projects. Thoughts on the theory? One reason Asajj is brought back is so that she can be there at the end to counteract Vader in a final Tantis battle. She keeps them busy while the clones do their thing. We also have this very kind super chat from Jamie Johnson, who says, should Vader be in Bad Batch? Ventress versus Vader. Ken, where you go?
My answer is no. My gut reaction is no. Just on the timeline alone, Vader's still kind of, he's in an interesting spot. He's still kind of establishing even, who he is. And, we know a lot of stuff in the early Soul run of the comics is running along the beginning of Bad Batch. And again, you're right, the timeline, is it year for year? Are we 3 years out of Revenge of the Sith? I don't know. And it also just might be a thing. As much as I want to be, the idea of a Ventress versus Vader rematch is intriguing to me. It would be totally fun. So if it ends up with that, I'm fine with that. But also, I really feel as though Ventress has served her purpose in this season, and that was it. That was her relationship and what she can give Omega. Certainly can go on. I'm bad at predictions. I'm always open to anything. But my gut reaction is, nah, I don't need to see Vader at Tantis. I think he's elsewhere.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But I'm okay with him not appearing, not there being a final showdown. I think for me, having Palpatine show up was enough. You know what I mean? Like, I got enough of the Sith spice. Let's back off of it for a bit. And I feel like we got enough Ventress. I'm okay with her not coming back. If she does, maybe a quick scene at the end, because I want to see what she's going to bring to Tales of the Jedi or another animated series.
Yeah, I know I have been on about this, and people have different tastes and opinions, so the utmost respect to that. But with the gift of more Star Wars storytelling, there continues to me to be the risk of repetition, and I think every bit of Vader storytelling we've got has been great for me. I enjoy most of the comic stuff, but his appearances in Rebels, his role in Kenobi, were just fabulous. The way he's used in at least the first Jedi Fallen Order game, I haven't played the second, fabulous. But there is that risk of repetition of, I love the way they've handled him to be like, he's pretty unstoppable. The only one who's close to being able to match him is Kenobi, because he has such a deep understanding of his soul. So to me, it gets into this sort of narrative like, yep, Ventress could hold him off, but we've seen Vader be just barely held off by many a Jedi. So as much as I love seeing Vader, and as much as I can see the logic of it, and it would be cool to see Ventress have her epiphany of who he is, it just feels like all I can think about is I need something new in that for myself. Where's the new in it? And if he's there, how can it help us learn or see something about one of the other characters, or learn us and see something new about Vader himself? So if they got something up their sleeve that makes it more about an emotional revelation, great. But otherwise, for me, it's not enough to just have a really cool fight with Ventress.
Yeah, and Jared in chat, Jared goes also something I was thinking of. I don't see Vader showing up on Tantis in the Bad Batch, because I think Tantis is Palpatine's off the books project. Don't think he wants Vader poking around his I intend for live forever pants. Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. I think the rivalry between them has already begun. Palpatine has damaged goods. He's been doubting. He wanted to save Vader. I think it was, he dropped his iPad and he's hoping that duct tape can fix it at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And now here he is. And I think he absolutely is, has different plans in different parts of his galaxy. And I don't necessarily think Vader would know about Tantis, that he would want it.
Yeah. No, I really agree. Really, really agree. Our buddy Ken Plume says, I think I'm a bit Vadered out. The comic has shown me enough of Palpatine's Lucy ripping the Sith football away from Vader's Charlie Brown. A character connection I've never made, and yet I think a very astute one, in my opinion.
It's something that's pulled me off the comics a little bit of I don't necessarily think it's wrong. It's just like you said, Joseph, there's the danger of repetition, and I've just seen a lot of what Ken is talking about of Vader being like, gonna get you, and Palpatine going, no, and what a lesson you've learned. It's happened a few times. And I think, again, that makes sense all the way up until he what finally does it for Vader is the return of Anakin and the compassion of Luke, all that kind of stuff that we know and love from Return of the Jedi. So it's the right end game, and it's maybe the right story along the way. But at this point, 10 years into this modern era, 10 plus, I've seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Jennifer, you don't have much time left, right? Do you want to pick anything?
Sure. I've had to mute myself because I have children screaming in the background. Freezy2324, thank you so much. Asks, will we get the rest of Grogu's backstory in movie? I think so. I think that they're going to save it for the big screen to have a lot of emotional moments. I mean, the stuff that we did get in previous seasons, it was a lot, but I think that they're saving the best stuff for the movie theater, for the big screen. That's my prediction.
Yeah. I agree, and I would love it if the movie is kind of about Grogu. Obviously, Din could still have an arc in a journey and all that, but particularly this last season, I think, has really made some choices for Din, and we've kind of hinted around the edges of Grogu's choices and Grogu's trauma. We got the great scene where we learned Kelleran Beck rescued him, and is many fans theorize, since it was the Naboo ship that was provided for Grogu, that Kelleran Beck is taking him to Naboo to meet Jar Jar. So Ahmed Best going to have a well-deserved scene with himself. And then my headcanon is that Grogu has a brief moment of peace and comfort with Kelleran, and then Kelleran is killed in front of Grogu, creating the trauma of that Grogu, that Ahsoka was right when she looked into Grogu's heart of, there's some potential darkness in this little guy if his loving protector father figure is taken away. In a film that dealt with Grogu, Grogu can't let go of Din would be, I don't know. There could be some real fascinating stuff there.
Yeah, I hate to run right towards the darkness, but the return of Kelleran Beck, or the emergence of Kelleran Beck from a fun game show to a major Star Wars story was one of my favorite moments of Star Wars. I absolutely love it. I just the amount of joy that swept over me in that moment, that first viewing, was something I'll never forget. But yeah, I do feel he's slated for death, and it'd be maybe important to see it. I am all for justice for Jar Jar, and having Jar Jar be the one that saves it. I don't know how realistic that truly is, especially in a movie. Season 4, I could see that maybe, but in a movie, it'd be a shame that if they felt afraid to do that in a movie because of a wide audience. But I do want some justice for Jar Jar. But I'm with you there. A dark future, but an important future for Kelleran Beck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other thoughts from you, Jennifer, on Grogu's backstory, or your kids?
Oh, I'm sure that if I were to ask them, they probably would have lots of thoughts on a lot of things, like Roblox. Is there a Grogu Roblox? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, what about Grogu meeting Boss Nass?
Oh, yes. I want to see Grogu meeting Yoda. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
What if like Kelleran takes him to Dagobah and Yoda has him for a while, then calls back and is like, I can't handle this one. This one's too much. You gotta take him somewhere else. Try Kenobi. It ain't me. Love that.
Yeah, as Grogu and Boss Nass blowing raspberries at each other would be precious.
I love that. Jen, how we doing? Checking in on you. You got to run?
Yeah, I think I gotta go and handle my own Grogus. Yes.
Many Grogos. Jen, thank you so much as always for making time to hang with us today. And then we'll the Carrie Fisher Jedi Beat is coming soon, and it's going to be worth the wait. It's going to be great.
Yes, thank you all so much for bearing with me, and thanks for letting me hang out for a little bit.
Of course, thank you.
Of course, it's your
okay,
house.
guys.
We'll
Okay, I'm gonna make sure. I'm gonna leave the studio. I'm not gonna end the stream. I'm leaving the studio.
All right. Don't worry. We're gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna remove you. Boom, and then all right.
Hey, amazing, Ken.
Yeah, there we go. If those of you who watched last month, the disaster of the midstream cutoff is one they'll talk about in the history books. Right. Great stuff. Great stuff. Where do we want to go next? Everyone's saying goodbye to Jen in chat. That is wonderful.
Lovely. Yeah, then we got a lot of great thoughts here. Okay, here's a fun one. Thank you for the kind super chat and JMB. Love your show. Way behind on recent Star Wars, so have to avoid spoiler episodes. But what are Star Wars shows, movies that have increased in your estimation since release, and what may have even decreased? Thank you. It's a fun one to think about, Ken. Where do you go with it?
First one that has started in a good spot but has gone higher as I just appreciate the Book of Boba Fett even more and more. I just love Boba Fett's journey. I love the way it dealt with the ideas of change, which are obviously big in Star Wars. That's not anything new, but it dealt with it on a very interesting and personal level with someone I grew up with having a pretty, narrow lane view towards who Boba Fett was. And he was that. And to play with it and to explore that. And that's why I go to the Garsa Fwip speech with Blacker Satin. It just is so much of what is going on right now about we are in a time of change, and what was once cheered is not celebrated anymore. And that moment with Chrysanthemum is pretty powerful to me in terms of real world stuff. And it was just wacky and weird in its own wonderful Star Wars way. It's got some awkward moments. It's got things, I totally get. I always say this. If anyone's got critiques of Book of Boba Fett, I probably agree with you. But that doesn't matter. I love it. I love it personally. And I've revisited that series more than even some of the other ones. So that's one that's gone up for me.
I think that's a great one to think about and a great one to talk about. I think that, I can agree with some of the criticisms. I think it's a really weird show. And I think that the choice to put the focus on Grogu and Din, it doesn't bother me because I'm all kind of caught up on that world. And I think it works thematically, but I really understand for people who are more casual fans, maybe even people who are more like Boba Fett fans from the books, like a Boba Fett show. And why are we I get it. I also don't think that the multicolored, quadrophenia space bikes, I don't think that's the most spectacular chase ever. It is teens chasing a mayor's assistant.
It's teens chasing a great Second City performer.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do?
It ain't Luke versus Vader. I agree. But I think it's much like my love for, say, Attack of the Clones or Temple of Doom. I tend to love things personally where, I get some of the criticism, absolutely. But the big swings make them feel human. They make them feel like I can feel the passion and the sweat and the fingerprints on it. And I love Book of Boba Fett for that. I also love Book of Boba Fett as time goes on, and we are in a specific cultural moment that we've been in many times before, but we're in a big one right now. Book of Boba Fett is a union show. How much that is about Boba Fett realizing I considered myself the best, but I actually gave myself little power. I was I was told my rate and what I had to do by the likes of Vader and everybody else. And I thought I was in charge of my own life, but I wasn't. And I'm actually going to be in charge, and I'm going to make sure everybody gets what's fair, including that, that water rationing episode where, where the watermonger is, being an asshole. And Boba Fett's like, no, we're going to do things real fair when I'm the union boss. So there's a lot to love about a very strange show for me.
No, look, it is actually about the labor and union and how to build up community. Community is at the center of it, right? But that's the moment of Drash kind of saying, what work, oh mighty Dynamo? Like it's very much like how do you want to build up and make everyone strong versus those who just seek to make themselves stronger. It's very, very clear where the series goes. So I like that there.
Yeah, no, absolutely great stuff, in my opinion. I think the other thing that went up in my estimation, which is partially just my own journey, was I liked Rebels as it was airing. and I had a couple episodes that I loved. But a couple of years ago now, when I binge watched it, my appreciation grew immensely. I think for a couple of reasons. One, for the I back in the day when it first premiered and it was the first Disney thing, it felt a little like some of the Disney traditions were sort of being put onto Rebels with some of the comedy in the first season. I resented it for ending Clone Wars. We hadn't started doing ForceCenter, so I didn't, work through these things as much too. I just kind of went, and then also I was thinking about this with Bad Batch. I think I sometimes felt with Rebels of like these characters. I like this story, but come on, where's the big picture going? Same way a lot of people are feeling about Bad Batch. And I think that has long been a tradition of animation where it feels like the story is moving slowly until you pull back and see how far the characters have traveled within a season.
Right.
And sometimes I think the shows fare better when you can watch them in a couple weeks and you really see like, oh, Ezra was worried about this 3 episodes ago, and now here's this great follow through, and you can feel that really immediately.
I love it. Yeah. I always, loved Rebels, but I always had that the first season wasn't as good vibe. And a lot of that comes from reviewing it in 2014 on Jedi Alliance, and I didn't look at it in the same way. And there's some stuff that you're talking about of like, hey, I just remember criticizing the use of the speeder bike sound. Like, I get it. And that was really cynical of me. But on a rewatch, I remember having things. I was on my treadmill, my gym garage, watching some early on in season 1, and I went, "Oh no, I was wrong. This is pretty serious up front. This gets into it pretty fast." My view of it was incorrect, and I had a lot of it was already a well-loved series by the end by me, but I think that first season it grew.
Yeah. I don't think anything's really decreased. I think with limited time, there are ones that I have more of a pull to rewatch. I've rewatched Kenobi once, all in one evening, as an experiment, which I really enjoyed. And as soon as those Blu-ray discs are out, my wife and I are going to watch Kenobi again.
Oh yeah. No, I've watched the Kenobi series a couple times. And decreased is that's a tough sell around the ForceCenter parts as we try to find something we love and everything. I'm still not fully there with Ahsoka. That's been something. I would say I have gotten into actual kind of, unlike me, arguments in public about Mandalorian season 3, about how much I love it. And it's like my favorite season, and it's got some of the deepest stuff in it. The Keller and Beck moment, again, I would wax poetic about it any day you asked me. But I think the conversation around it has beaten me down a little bit. Where I'm tired of having an argument in a green room at Flappers with another comic. I'm tired of having breakfast with a friend and him just telling me, "Oh, it was bad because of X, Y, and Z." I'm just like, you know what? Y'all can have it. I guess it was bad. I don't think so, but I don't want to. I'm not putting my feet in the sand on this one anymore.
Yeah, no, I understand. For me, there's this really interesting tension between all in Star Wars fans and people who got hooked on The Mandalorian because it was so friendly to people who, were not deep into Star Wars lore. And I had a great conversation with a woman I met at a film festival who really loved the first 2 seasons. And it was just like, what are they doing in the 3rd season? What's it about? And I was like, well, I understand that it might feel like it wanders a little bit plot wise, but I really feel it's about this idea, and that, these ideas are reflected again and again about, coming together, and about, the greatest strength being, people putting past their differences. And when you frame it that way, every choice, every bit makes sense when you frame it through this sort of thematic lens. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't do that." And it wasn't even a disagreement. It was just like, I wanted to know what happened next with the baby. I didn't frame it through a thematic lens, and for me, I just got to be like, yep, different people watch things and process things in different ways. And I think The Mandalorian as a show changed a lot. And I understand people who had a hard time with that if they were coming in from a different perspective.
Yes, it's like your favorite band released a 3rd album and they took some wild swings, and you're like, I didn't want that rap song on my rock album. I didn't want that, but I respect the crew as an artist. Yeah, and that was my thing too. Of just like I got the heated argument I got to was about Din didn't really change. He didn't have an arc, and I'm like nuts to that. That's I think incorrect. Also, he was rather steadfast and brought about a lot of change in other people because of the lessons he had to learn this far. But at the end of the day, to each their own. I'm not going to try to convince you to like it, and I think that's where I'm at with him.
I haven't rewatched it yet, just all in one, the way I have the first 2 seasons too. But the other day when I think I was thinking through this and just kind of started to go through, like, well, what episodes did I really like? What was in it that I really loved? And like, damn, there's a lot of weird, great, awesome stuff in Mandalorian season 3. So I also look forward to just the time to just rewatch it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you on that there too.
Jared brings up a good point, and then we can move on. Jared Kozal says, the only decreases, in quotes, in my love for Star Wars projects occur when people use a movie show as a cudgel to tear down another. Unfortunately, Andor and The Last Jedi are often used this way. Still love them both, though. I just said, I've just pronounced Andor like Luthen does. Andor. Unfortunately, Andor and The Last Jedi are often used this way. Still love them both, though. That's true, and that does affect me sometimes. Of even when I like something, when other people are like, "Yep, it's the only good one," then I'm like, "Meh." Like it's not about my relationship, but it is the way about other people talk about it.
Yeah,
good point, Jared.
That's definitely me with Andor. Love that show.
Andor.
Love it. I have not rewatched it since it aired because I hear all the voices of those people. And a lot of them friends of mine.
It's also totally a mood thing, It's not a
that's
not a feel good like, hey, honey, we've had a stressful week.
It's so true. So it's my big issue with House of the Dragon. It's a spectacular show. It is dark, and you're like, it's darker than Game of Thrones. It's way darker than Game of Thrones, and I do not have the emotional headspace to rewatch it and invest in it again. And it's not going to get brighter. Like it's sunnier days are not happen for House Targaryen. So I kind of have that with Andor too at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Some good talk in the chat about the rise of Skywalker. Ken and I were definitely in camp. Love it from the first day because we watched it together and then went and had pizza. I had a martini.
We didn't just love it and go have pizza. We loved it and made sure no one else was around us who didn't like it.
We separated ourselves from the discourse.
You all go over there. And, we're going here.
Gosh, yeah, I really do love it. I think about it often. This the Asajj and Omega episode, I can't remember if we got a chance to really talk about this on it. It reminded me a lot of the Rise of Skywalker because I felt part of what was so powerful about Asajj's story is I define myself. I look at what my nature is. I look at who I am. Darkness is a part of me, but I choose whether it's fine that darkness is a part of me, but I choose how I act. And that was so Rey's journey. And I don't, that episode was so well done to me with just the number of images that put Asajj in the darkness and put her as the war criminal, the thing that is so unnatural under the cave that Batcher senses it. Like she's wrong. And for her to come out like Rey does under that fear of being inherently something and then deciding for herself what she is just gave me Rise of Skywalker feels.
The parallels to one of the central themes of Rise of Skywalker are absolutely right. It's very strong. I mean, that scene that I know you and I love on Kijimi of what are you, a spice trader? What are you, a scavenger? What are you, a stormtrooper? Like, that's these titles that we have or given, and they don't define us, and we choose how we move forward. The big one with Rey, all that stuff. The big one with Ben. But yeah, I love that. That's why I think you and I are also in alignment on what we call the mouth monster of the sea, and that real vulnerable moment of Asajj Ventress just going, I didn't intentionally call that. Oh God, like I didn't mean that, but it's there. The potential for that is there.
Sometimes you call it. She's got that great line to Omega about like. A lot of force-sensitive people have a natural connection to nature. Reach out and feel your energy. And Mouth Monster's like, I feel your energy. And yeah, so good. Anyway.
Yeah. Love that indeed. All right, good questions coming in here. Let me pull one. Let's see, clear that one here. Brian Babcock says, hey, I finally made it to a live chat. My question, do you think the next season of Tales of Jedi could be a 6 to 8 episode adaptation of The Dark Disciple instead of 3 episodes of 2 different Jedi? I don't know what we're going to get. I'll tip my cards a little bit, Joseph. The cards that we've had. I've heard some strong rumors about what one of the things was, and I'm not even going to say it because it doesn't matter because rumors are rumors. So if that rumor's true, then no, this theory is not true. But also, I have up, because I saw this question come through, I have up the StarWars.com announcement for Tales of the Jedi in April of 2023. Celebration. Remember, that was a great day. You and I probably had an upper crust sandwich. We're probably very happy. It does not give any episode number, and I can't find anything yet of an episode number. So we're assuming 6. That makes sense. If Dave is scribbling out these scripts on cocktail napkins while flying from location to location, that would make some sort of sense to me. But I think it will still be split between groups. But I feel strongly about Asajj being in it only because of Jennifer Corbett saying what she said.
Yeah, I feel like it makes a lot of sense. If there was going to be an Asajj spinoff, then absolutely that could be a part of her growing closer to Omega, to Ventress having to open up and tell Omega more about who she is. That could be a way into it. But it just feels like that sort of discrete kind of bit of storytelling that would fit well into Tales of the Jedi. I continue to think that it's a possibility that there will be Luke stories, because the storytelling space that Dave Filoni is in right now is, not only did he set up where does Luke end up after the original trilogy and how does the beginning of his school work and where's he at, but he's also in the mode of crafting the story for the screen of the era of the New Republic. And so having some Luke stories that begin to bridge the gap toward the sequel trilogy, an intimate little adventure of Luke, babysitting a 6-year-old Ben Solo, and beginning light training, that just feels like in the wheelhouse of what Filoni is working on. And, having a contrast between Asajj rising to the light and the fear of Ben going to the dark would be a nice little contrast.
Yeah. I just want that regardless. And look, here's the thing: Tales of Jedi Volume 2, Tales of Blank Volume 3, Tales of Blank Volume 4. Keep going with this. I love the first 6 Tales of the Jedi episodes. The Duke of Stuff, some of my favorite of Filoni's work in terms of writing. And I don't always love his writing. Look at Ahsoka, but it was really good, powerful, thought-provoking stuff, and the Ahsoka stuff was great too. So I'm looking at your idea of on Luke and young Ben and all that stuff. Reverend Trigster, which sounds like a great performing stage name. My money is on Tales of Jedi Season 2 being split between Asajj and Sabine. A lot of people
guess.
Look split between Quinlan and Asajj. I'm not gonna say Asajj is a sure thing at all. It just makes a lot of sense. Her, the Night Sisters, you have that story. They've acknowledged it twice in press releases. We know, we know. Don't worry, you're gonna get it. This would be a great, because it's not a series to me. Her return is not a series.
Yeah,
it'd be a great way to handle it.
I feel like in terms of the direct question, I really hope it isn't just a Dark Disciple adaptation, because for me, if they were going to do Dark Disciple, I'd want it to almost be its own, thing entirely.
Yes,
to be like it's so hefty, and maybe Tales of the Jedi will do what they've done, like with the Ahsoka novel, and adapt a little piece of it, maybe. But I think I have my guard up about that too, because we've been down this road a couple times now of adapting books and comics and keeping the spirit absolutely there, but changing some of the details, and sometimes, like with the Ahsoka, changing them in a way that potentially erases moments of representation. So I want to see Dark Disciple. I would love to see Dark Disciple, adapted as like a 2-hour animated film with a robust team. But I hope it's handled very gently in whatever elements of Tales that Tales of the Jedi might use, so we don't get into the adaptation.
Issues. No, No, I'm with you. I know if they were ever to do, movies of the week, so to speak. You and I grew up on movies of the week. We all remember when Heidi upset the Miami Dolphin jet game ending in the 80s, don't we? I would love to see Dark Disciple adapted. Love to see Lost Stars. All those things that for years people have been saying they could do. An animated movie adaptation with a lot of room to breathe and a lot of room to get some things right, like you're talking about, with the, what happened with Dave and the erasure of great representation in E.K. Johnson's book. Would love that. I don't know if it's in the plans. We'll talk to Uncle Bob. He's got a fight on his hands with these a-holes, Perlmutter and Peltz, trying to get him out. So we'll see, but maybe one day.
Yeah. Great thoughts there. The Cali Kid says, does anyone know of a projected release window for Skeleton Crew? Has been quiet on the Skeleton Crew front. I think the various whispers, and I think maybe a cast member, not an official press release. I think the general thought has been some sort of fall release, which to me, a Thanksgiving weekend release makes a ton of sense to me, with that going for that whole Amblin Entertainment vibe of it's kids out on their own. It's scary, but it's ultimately, I think, probably a heartwarming, homecoming at the end of it, that it's a show about kids, but it's for everyone. Star Wars answer to E.T. over Thanksgiving weekend sounds pretty damn good to me.
Yeah, I nothing's been official, so this is all rumor mill stuff. Yeah, the fall seems to work. I think that was I think that might have been the intention before, but the strikes kind of changed some things. But yeah, the fall works. I had a conversation with one person who has seen it and they loved it and described it as Goonies in space, and also said personally for them was their most favorite of the Star Wars shows to date.
Wow.
So that's exciting. Again, personal taste and perspectives and all those things have to take account for. And by the way, no details. I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't want to know. I'm almost like our friend Matty Gunner, who refuses to take any Acolyte information in. He's got blinders on. He wants to go blind. But I think the fall works because of what you're talking about. Willow, which is a series I loved, I grew to love. When Willow started the first episodes, I didn't connect with, and then by the end, the character Borman in particular, I really connected with. That was a perfect fall family series, and I think you're going to have that vibe here.
Yep, absolutely. Goonies in space. It would be really great, really great.
Yep.
Okay, Ken, where do you want to go?
Where I want to go where you want to go. Jackson says, what is a realistic future we can expect from Omega's character? The animation live action adaptation hasn't quite landed with me overall. And I saw this question earlier. I favored it, and I wanted to address that too. Of going to even kind of what you and I were saying there too. It's hard to adapt these characters. It's not easy. I give them a lot of room. I actually for the most part do really like what Rosario's done with Ahsoka. I thought a lot of the adaptation stuff in the Ahsoka series was good, or at least good enough for me. The problem with the series was just other things I didn't connect to. But I still enjoy it. There's still wonderful things, and I still, Ray Stevenson's Baylan Skulls is one of my favorite new characters indeed. So, I think Omega going forward. I don't see her going to live action. I don't see it yet. I think animated and going forward, another series could be more realistic than live action.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it totally depends on where her character is. As always with these characters, it's such a hard thing of how long do they live? Is she around a tree at Andor? Is when the Thrawn versus the New Republic film finally comes out, and we have the Avengers moment of everyone showing up. Does Omega show up with Boba Fett in Fennec?
Right.
Right. Because that's
AZ.
and AZ, all flying in there in live action for a cameo. Who knows? Deeply respect all the different opinions. Most all of the animation to live action moments have been hard for me, in that I have empathy for the actors who don't get to take the step from voice acting to playing the characters. That's always hard for me because I have empathy for those performers. All of whom have been incredibly gracious and cool about it and do awesome photo shoots with here's everybody who's played the character. Great. Love it. But I think the interesting thing we talked about a lot with Ahsoka is that there's the adapting the characters to live action, and then there's adapting them at different points in their life. I think Rosario
Yes.
Dawson did great as Ahsoka. Ahsoka, the character, was in a really different place in her life. I think Hera was fantastic. I would have taken a few more moments of Hera getting to do really Hera stuff. I liked her. I liked everything she had, but it would have taken a little bit more. Sabine for me was knock it out of the park. It was great. It was one of my favorite parts of Ahsoka, taking this rebellious teen who's now a depressed woman who's about to turn 30 years old. It was phenomenal. I got a great Sabine action figure on my desk with her little paint can ready to go. So I'm not against an Omega. It's just to me like when and why. And I think if we saw her, it would definitely be like if they shocked us all and they're like coming in 2027, Asajj, in Omega on the path, live action, we'd still be meeting her, a couple years older, maybe a little bit different place in her life, and there's that part of it to me.
I think that's a great note about the adaptation process of it is often at a different point in their life and their existence and their experiences. And that sometimes I'm not speaking for anyone, especially in chat, but like you kind of have to run that over. I think Ezra's is great, but he's at a different point in his life, but he kept kind of the same energy. And also we didn't spend as much time with him, but I thought the performance was wonderful, the energy, everything about it. And because that series, when he showed up, he had just a burst of energy with him. I keep using that term energy because that's what I loved. I just felt like finally he's here. We got some movement. Let's go. But yeah, that's an interesting observation that it's like, it's not just a different performer. It's a different time period in their careers, in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. Speaking of animated characters, Alan Smithy, thank you for the kind super chat, says, super happy to have Nika Futterman back. Half of the Ventress character is that raspy voice, and she brings it. What's your fave Ventress episode? Well, one of them would be the one we just saw, The Harbinger. I thought it was so seamlessly continuing the story of Bad Batch. Everything going on with Asajj reflected the choices and the journeys of Omega and the rest of the Bad Batch, but it was also to me just like the episode was Asajj's soul. And it was such an Asajj episode. I absolutely loved it for that. I'm looking up the actual name of my other favorite episode because I know what it is, but I don't remember the title. So I'm looking it up.
While you're doing that, I'll say I agree. I actually think my favorite Ventress episode would be the Bad Batch episode at this point, but that decision and choice comes on the backs of it's standing on the shoulder of the giant episodes that came before it. Her return, that embrace with Mother Talzin, which is not the end of the journey by any sense of imagination, but that and what she went through, the Dooku, Palpatine just coldly saying she got to go, meant a lot. And when we pick it back up again with her and Ahsoka, around the Jedi Who Knew Too Much end of season 5 arc, I really like where they're at there too. And it's not an Asajj-centric episode, so her bounty hunting with young Boba Fett, all that stuff is pretty good too. But I think in terms of Clone Wars, it is that big return home to Mother Talzin. I love that. And the Bad Batch right now.
Yeah, no, it's all sorts of great stuff. I think the other one for me is Clone Wars Season 4, Episode 20, Bounty. It is the one where Asajj just kind of falls into bounty hunting. She's with Boba Fett on an assignment. Is the description goes on Disney Plus. But that's a real Asajj deciding who she wants to be too. Of just like, yeah, I'm a great bounty hunter. I do anything. I've got great skills and I'll do anything. And discovers, I don't agree with the way this bounty is being handled, so I'm going to handle it my way. It's kind of her first steps to be like, oh, I have been under someone else's thumb and I get to decide. It really begins in that episode, Bounty.
It really does. Yeah. It's a great follow-up, great arc, great episode. And, some good young Boba Fett stuff, which, I know that question hangs over Bad Batch and the episodes we have left. It's looking less and less like Boba Fett shows up for me, but I do love Boba Fett in this part of the timeline.
Omega is now surrounded by people.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Fennec will know Boba Fett well in the future, but Asajj is very well aware of Boba Fett,
Yeah. Love that. Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
All right, Ken, what do you want to grab?
Let's talk some figures. Let's talk some action figures. You know, the toys. Jared says, I'm maintaining a likely futile but principled, steadfast refusal to buy any Black Series figures until they make a Ben Solo and Reborn Palpatine. No more Trooper reskins. One day, perhaps. I wanted to bring that up. Yeah, a lot of it is the nature of the business. We were talking about Luke earlier and everything, but yeah, that's still a bummer to me that even, now I think it's great. Like the new Acolyte figures that they announced, they all look great. The Ahsoka figures look great. I understand why they reskin the clones, and I know Jared does as well. But I'm with you. Come on, we got Ben. Get the little hole in his shirt. Put him in arm shrug motion. Like, this is a figure I need.
Yeah, I mean, for me at this point, it's been several years since Rise of Skywalker. I'm in a couple of action figure groups, and there can be some people there with some extremely harsh opinions that I don't agree with. But even some of the people who are clearly not fans of Rise of Skywalker are like, yeah, but at the end of the day, it is main characters we still haven't got, Even if you don't like Rise of Skywalker, I think people would buy Reborn Emperor. I think people would buy Deluxe Emperor hanging from bring his a gift grabbing claw. I think absolutely people would buy a 2-pack of Luke and Leia Jedi training action figures. Like, I understand a lot about the action figure business as I've been buying more and joined some groups and paid better attention and heard insightful thoughts from a pal Ken Plume, all sorts of things. The weird levels of Rise of Skywalker must not be touched it's bonkers to me. Of like, I understand, yes, it was the film came out at a different time, but like it's the Skywalker saga, and they're action figures that are totally safe, that they will sell. It's wild. I just got this I pre-ordered Dooku, and I just got my Dooku. Oh, look at him. He's so evil. Yeah.
Not quite sassy pajamas, but solid there.
One can hope. One can hope for some exquisite pajamas.
Ken Plume says every character deserves a figure. Yeah, I
agree. And I think I think it is one of those things that sometimes helps people turn around very slowly on something that they just didn't like. Then they'll be like, well, I did, but the Emperor does look cool. Well, I did like this scene. Well, I did like that. And then people get to that point where they're like, to stretch our food analogies, this pizza has 2 toppings I don't like, but I'll eat around them to like, actually,
you know what?
The big honkin' onions do add a certain flavor. And all right. Okay. Like, it helps too.
I finally agree with Ken. Pineapple on pizza is a great thing. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about in terms of toys. I really agree with that. I have a friend who does not like Rogue One. Has not liked it from the day it came out to now. But even he shrugs his shoulders and goes, but I'll tell you what, those shore troopers are amazing. And I think that's that. This is why for years, and I had written about it, I've talked about it, but like the seismic charges, I know it's a well-loved sound. I'm not alone in this, but that kept me coming back to Attack of the Clones when I thought it was something I would never watch again. And then from there, like, I'm here. You know what? I kind of like the deck stuff. I kind of like this. Sam Wessel's. Like, it just, yes, I believe that in terms of Star Wars. I don't know how in other media, I don't know if it works as well as it does for Star Wars, but a sound, a figure, a toy, something you see. I really agree with that. That would be part of the right move going forward with Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. And they've been doing a better job at trying to get the figures out closer to release. I am still waiting on my Huyang pre-order. But at least announcing the Acolyte figures earlier, to build excitement for the show. In fact, Ken, I'm going to do something I don't think I've ever done before. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to pre-order one of the Acolyte action figures live on air. I want this Jedi Master Soul action figure. If so cool.
This is wonderful. If I wasn't afraid of your credit card information accidentally getting out, I would share the media page so we'd actually watch you do this. But we're gonna be with you here as you pre-order Jedi Master Soul.
Here we go. The Force wills it. Rank. And check out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
Love it. Love it. You got it. You're done what you ordered. You ordered the hero of the show that might be the bad guy. We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
I love. Yeah, there's some action figure talking like, why are we getting action figures for a movie that hasn't come out? And everybody from the 70s and 80s and the 90s and the 2000s were like, most of us learned the plot of the Phantom Menace from the back of the action figures months before the film came out.
Or the chips, yeah, the voice chips. I was thinking of pulling my my Phantom Menace figures are out of the package. They're in plastic bags inside plastic boxes. I was thinking of pulling them out again. I haven't pulled them out since the Jedi Alliance days. I might do that. Maybe we'll do that one day.
Yeah, no, that'd be amazing. Amazing.
Other questions coming in. I'll clear this one. But you tell us where you want to go next. And thank you for the super chats. We see them. We're going to get to all the super chats. We appreciate that.
You got one, Ken, or would you like me to?
Well, let's do. You know what? Let's do a little non-Star Wars other center question. While we also get ready for some more Star Wars questions. This one from Sam. Thank you for the super chat. Waiting on the sun in real time to move in the right place for a short film, and saw y'all were live. Any tips on working on a short film? Just rewatched Peace Fight today.
Thank you.
You have been killing it on short films. What advice do you have?
I've been having a lot of fun. The Peace Fight one is I was like, I think I really want to focus on filmmaking. Like, I want to make something real simple. And Ken and our pal Mark Ellis helped me with that. That's on YouTube if you want to check it out. I think, I don't know if this is a general artistic advice. I think is always being clear in your mind out of what you want from the project. Are you doing it to learn a specific skill? Are you saying, I want to enter this in film festivals? Are you saying, I want to get this many views on YouTube, or I just want to make it for the joy of making it and, share it with some friends. I think always kind of knowing what you want out of it, I think helps make you feel fulfilled in the best way, because you're shooting, what you're shooting for. The only other thing for myself I'll say is that I think it's really, really good to get practice doing as many parts of the short film as you can. This most recent one that I did is 6 minutes long, as part of this accountability group in LA called Just Scare Me, where you volunteer to make a film in 2 months. And if you don't make it, you agree to pay $100 into a pot. And then the people who did complete their films split the money. It's a real friendly, real light thing. But I decided for that, I'm just going to shoot with my iPhone so I can learn how that goes. I did the sound, I did the editing, I did the score, I did the color correction because I wanted to learn more about doing it. So I think doing the different parts of it so you can learn how it all works. And then hopefully we have larger collaboration, but then having a better understanding because you did it yourself once.
Lovely. I've never made a short film, so I've been involved in a number. Yours as well. They're a lot of fun, but I have a different perspective on them. They're almost, in terms of writing them, I've always found them to be more intimidating than even like a feature or a series, because it's like I've written a lot of sketches in my day, and I've written some sketches that are mini plays. I've had that comment, and my groundlings director was like, "You're really writing mini, true theater here in a sketch cub." But there's something pressure I feel of that clarity of theme, the clarity of story in a short amount of time. There's a pressure on it that I never escaped. So that's why I love what you put out there and the stories and how you get it all done in a short amount of time.
That's what drafts are for. The last couple I've done, I have not been as clear when I wrote the first draft and like, oh, well, now that I got it down, now I see what's working and I'll tweak it. I do have one bit of really practical advice about short films. You'll want people to see it no matter what. Make sure the ending beat of your film is the actual narrative ends and the first title card comes up, whether it's directed by or whatever. Make sure that beat is clear so people know exactly when to applaud. Going to all these, it's a thing I have strong opinions about from doing live shows of just like people always, not always, oftentimes when people are hosting a variety show or a comedy show, they will say the person's name and then stuff about them. And then the audience doesn't know how to applaud. So like people say, Ken Knapsack, he's from ForceCenter. Anyway, here he is. Where you want to say, like, you know, a man who knows his soups and the co-host of ForceCenter, it's Ken Knapsack, so people know exactly how to applaud and when. And it brings the most energy. Same thing for short film. I've seen it at film festivals. A couple of great short films that are kind of a little wobbly in the way that the transition from the last beat to the first credit thing comes up, and then people don't know when to applaud. You want people to know when to applaud so you can soak it in.
My perspective of hosting stand-up shows or being on stand-up shows. There was one host in New York, Vince Chang in New York. When we're out there at the New York Comic Club, he's the best host I've ever been with on a stand-up show. But there was one that was from our friend group that someone let host, and it was the worst. He just kept going. All right, coming up now is Ken Knapsack. Man, he's just really funny. I saw him one time here. Ken's coming up right now, but. And I'm just like off stage, like, just say my name, man. Just say the name.
You feel like a racehorse, and like the bar's not lifting. Just let me out there. Just let me out there.
Just do clubs and colleges. Here's Ken Knapsack. They do just drives me crazy.
Never met him. Don't know if he's funny. Ken Knapsack.
Yeah, God, yeah. But same with radio. It's like the song, title, artist, and station. It's the best way. You do it any other way, it feels weird.
Yep. Want to throw this out here because we did answer this question. Star Wars in the Galaxy. Did. Hi, Ken Joseph. I don't know if you've answered this on ForceCenter, so apologies if you have. But what would you want the next Star Wars animated series to be post Bad Batch? For anybody who's joining us now, we had a good conversation about that, talking a lot about the Hidden Path, the High Republic, Saj and Omega. So if you're interested in that, you can watch the what's it called? This lives on YouTube. So what?
Yes.
Not the rerun.
The rerun, replay, whatever. Watch it on demand. I'll say this. I didn't answer this earlier. I think my wild card, 100 to 1 odd Star Wars animated show idea is Yoda moving into Dagobah. And it's him trying to establish himself, how to cook some root leaf stew, what's in the cave. Are my friends here, the ones that I met, the weird force spirits, are they around? No, it's just you and me and Qui-Gon? Okay. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, they need to fulfill the promise of the 1980 Yoda action figure and have him eat an orange snake and a brown snake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Star Wars in the Galaxy.
All right. You got another one, Ken? Or do you want me to grab one?
While you're looking for one, I'll bring this up because it's our update. Callie Kidd, thanks for the super chat. Is ForceCenter going to be at Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025? This was also asked in our Discord recently, and I answered an official TBD.
I am thrilled that they've announced good and early when they're going on sale, so we have time to prepare and discuss. I think we want to. That's a huge trip, and I know other people. We've discussed this before. Boy, London was a huge and expensive trip. Japan is, the super chat certainly helped to maybe make that a possibility because I think it would get to, we would have to have some like ForceCenter car washes or something.
Well, yeah, because
or
again,
bake sales to raise even more money because it's
you and I do a lot of I do a lot of other things, but this is our business. So this is so it's like it's not like I got my accounting job that can pay for tickets. This is the job. And that's just a stark reality of what London was and Paris. And I went to Paris afterwards, and it was like I made a triple lifetime event out of it. And I came back and was like, I can't do Tokyo.
I want to do it because it would because I always like being at Star Wars Celebration. It would be a fascinating challenge to really have to buy fewer action figures because of the expense and all that. But I've never been to Japan, and I would love to. And I like the Star Wars like theme of taking the opportunity that is in front of you. Japan is one of those someday kind of things. And so to have Star Wars come along and go, well, someday is now, embrace it. I really want to. We'll see if we can make it happen.
Absolutely. That's a country and a city I want to visit. And I had so much fun. And you remember you were the one who kind of politely was like, look, we're gonna make London happen. I was tense about the idea of getting over there. I'd never traveled abroad, and I know everyone loves to make fun of us Americans. You travel our country first because it's so big. I can't get to yours. All right, I haven't been to my part of my country yet. It's one little pet peeve of that conversation. Yeah, but once I got through it, like now I'm like, all right, again, and again. It's just some realities to it there. And I'll say this: it's on my birthday, like it's on my. It would be an actual birthday celebration. If it doesn't work out for whatever reason, I'll be bummed to miss it. And we're blessed. I only missed 2016 since this new era of celebrations. We're blessed. We get to go. A lot of times we got to go for either our work or some past jobs that I've had to sent me. But like, I would miss going. It would be it'd be FOMO to the umph degree.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it might just be this just massive celebration of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie,
Yeah,
which would be phenomenal.
Yeah. Anyways, I hope I didn't get too real, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at for Yeah. And Star Wars is so global and it's worldwide, so I love that it's everywhere else. I want to make that clear. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, why are you not doing this in Anaheim every year? Why are you not doing this at the home of Disney?
Yeah. Come on. Have it at Burbank. We can go to Smokehouse every night.
Anyways, that's just me being cynical and a jerk.
Lauren Romo very kindly says for Star Wars Celebration Japan. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah.
All right. You got one? Got some great ones here to go.
All right. Well, while we're kind of more on the businessy side of things, let's look at this one from David Cornett. Do you think your decision to not to cover Star Wars during the strike is related to not getting screeners? I do not, actually.
No, I don't think so.
I think the thing with screeners, this is real kind of, inside baseball stuff, is I think people drop on and off those lists as there is turnover in various departments, and it changes who handles what, and it changes, we're on the book list because that's handled by Del Rey, and we might be on a list for Star Wars Celebration, but maybe not on a list for screeners, or we might be on a list for, premieres of Marvel shows in LA. And I think because it's fun to be on those lists, it's helpful for things like the screeners to be on those lists. You can very quickly get wrapped up in the emotional. Am I in the club? Did I get the gold star? In my experiences, like, no, it's just busy press people keeping a list, and there I don't think there is a huge level of checking in to see, like, did they say something we disagree with? Because I mean, there have been people who continue to have access who've been extremely vocal about and cruelly vocal about the company and not liking things. And I think it takes a lot to have a behavior that gets you removed from the screeners. I think it's just fast moving press releases and changing policies and changing positions of who's handling the various lists.
Yeah, a lot of people switching out. There's a wonderful guy, Marshall, that handles a lot of like screening and conventions, and he was wonderful to us in London, helped us get a lot of London access, but then that didn't translate to post London. But then also Joseph and Jennifer and I still get like press emails. So we're in a system, but we're not getting here. There's also levels of you can get to the premiere, which is, that's cool. It's fun. But also you're in the you're over here in another theater. You're not over in this one, but then you might be in this one. And then do you get the party? I was Mark Ellis's +1 for Dial of Destiny, and we didn't have the party invite, which was fine. Would have been cool to hang out with Harrison Ford, but like we were like, we're not on that one this time. And the other times we were. It definitely no one keeps big track of what is anyone saying until it reaches a level where it has to be addressed. Where last couple of years there was an infamous case of someone lost their access because of what they were doing. But other than that, it's just part of the press thing. And there was also a switch to fanfluencers. And I don't mean to say that in any kind of negative light. It just was, especially during the strikes, because a lot of people loved playing with that wrinkle of I'm just a fan. I might be SAG, but right now I'm just a fan. And so it's complicated. We're on some lists. We're not on others.
Yep. And it switched it up. But thank you for asking. And yeah, I think that's our take.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly Kidd. Star Celebration Japan 25 fun. That's very, very kind.
There you go. All right, we got Oh, just a comment here, and so UW Fan Gyms, the Star Wars Battlefront Twilight Company's amazing audiobook, Band of Brothers style Star Wars. I still haven't read that book. I still haven't taken it in, and it's so early. It's such a long time ago in the new modern Star Wars canon era. But Twilight Company is, as I've still got this note in the back of my head to read it, to take it in. So thank you for the reminder.
Yep, I really do want to read it. I'll read it someday. Speaking of being on lists, got The Living Force, which I'm very much looking forward to that book. So I gotta. I'm still trying to get caught up on the High Republic. I got some reading to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I got that. I got the Kira novel. We got to catch up.
That's right.
I also got to finish my book on how 9/11 set the stage for Trump to take over politics. That's one I'm reading too. So. There you go. Rich D says, "Read it, you cowards." LOL. Just kidding. Yeah, I don't even own it. I got to get it. Maybe audio, but I just don't do audiobooks.
I think I do own it. Yeah. I know I want to be able to read at my own pace.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Nightfall Productions. Hello. Also says Japan rules. If I can make it happen, I'd love to return for Star Wars Celebration Japan. That would be great. I really hope if we can make it, that a lot of you can make it too, because that's what makes it so much fun.
I have to get there at one point so I can have people stop telling me to go to the 7-Elevens in Japan. I get it. They're better than ours, and I can't wait to go. Trust me. That's wonderful. And Adam, did you wrestle over there? Obviously big wrestling country there. Different kind. That might be thought there too. All right. We're good for here. We got about 25 minutes left in the show here. So what do we think?
Yeah. I'm going to grab this from our friend Matty Gunner, who says, "What do you think of the theme of legacy in The Bad Batch?" I think that's great. I really been appreciating this season that it is about Omega's growth, getting really explicit with kind of Asajj saying you've learned everything you can from them and you need to explore other parts of yourself, that they're overprotective shadows. But I also just feel like there's been lots of little things, and I know I've talked about this on Bad Batch Report, that just feels like the Bad Batches, they're changing and they're calming, and they are in this kind of mythic way, they're the old generation and they're needing to step back. They're changing. They're not out, on raids. They're not out, clubbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're parents and they're helping the next generation. And that's their concern. And I think that makes me think of legacy, because when it becomes a real generational tale like that, then Omega is a character unto herself, obviously, but then she also becomes a symbol of, we've been talking about Rise of Skywalker a lot. I am all the Jedi, who have ever come before me. Omega really feels like I have learned all the lessons and I represent my squad and I am their legacy. And that's a part of my identity as well as being my own person, which is a great contrast with Palpatine's. I don't want a legacy. Right. I just want I want it to be me forever. It's a great contrast when it comes to legacy.
Yeah, I love the idea of it, and especially now with this idea of that they might have to be, there's some strong conversations around Omega's path going forward without them, and what does that mean to them, and in terms of parenthood being at the center of the show. But also, I love the idea of legacy as it relates to the clones and their identity, and good soldiers follow orders. And is that the legacy you want to leave? Do you want to make some sort of decision so the generations later on will look back and nod their heads in agreement at what you left for them? The world you're trying to leave for them is, I think, a big legacy thing as well. It's an argument I've had in real life. Is this what you want to leave for me? And the ones that is what you want to leave. That's the legacy. And I think it's pretty powerful stuff. So it's legacy from a lot of different directions. The Empire truly trying to erase not just Palpatine, right, but at every angle. We're they're erasing the history books. So by the time Luke shows up, or Luke is walking and talking and drinking at bars, he's everything's a myth that was a long time ago when it really wasn't. That's a way to look at it too. But I absolutely love it.
Yeah, great question. Thank you so much. What do you got, Ken?
All right. We already had that one here. Super chat from Fennec Fand. Thank you. If a genie came along and guaranteed you could make the most well-received Star Wars story since A New Hope, what would you want to make? A movie, a book, a TV show? And what would it be about? Oh, this is a big question. I don't know if I have a one sheet or an elevator pitch in front of me. I would want it to be a movie, not because I don't love books. Not because TV shows in a lot of ways lead the industry, or at least had. The era of prestige television is changing, that I know. Their era of streamers is changing. This we know. TV shows can bring together a lot of people in a powerful way. But I don't know where we are right now. I would want it to be a movie. I can't wait for the ones coming forward. I think one of them could do it. But I still would want it based around generational exchange, generational change, a hero's journey, but the new heroes being key to that story. And I don't know. I don't think it would be like a Dune thing, and I haven't seen Dune. This isn't a anti-Dune thing, but it's a different kind of feel, right? It's a heavier sci-fi kind of approach, just with Villeneuve has done with these movies. But like, I think a Star Wars one would be like New Hope, people cheering at the end. All right, the audio of Han Solo coming back and saving the day with Luke, and Luke blowing up the Death Star, and the audio recordings from '77 that are out there, they're on the internet. That is what I think it would need to be. Not just, and again, Dune's just in everyone's mind right now, but it wouldn't be this. Yes, Dune. Yes, deep sci-fi, serious worms, riding space worms. It would be that feel good Star Wars film, which I think they've gotten there in a lot of ways. And I'm fully aware that Empire is not feel good and is often considered the best. But if you're talking about New Hope, that's what did it. It did it at a time. That's why Empire of Dreams is so right to start out with. Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown, and that we're coming out of this era. We're coming out of the post-Vietnam era, and that burst of joy was needed. I'd want that, and I think we are in an era where bursts of joy are needed in our storytelling.
Yeah, and I think, Empire has a lot of joy in it, and Empire works so well because the characters are so alive and so lovable, and they are jumping from problem to problem. So it's got this great momentum. It makes you feel the darkness even more. Yeah, I have two ideas I really like that if I ever got into a position where I could pitch, I have a standalone story about a Jedi. I don't want to go into details because that would hobble it if I ever had the opportunity to pitch. And then I have an idea for a trilogy of 3 movies or 3 stories of any kind. I would love to make a movie that is it could happen at any era where there are a lot of Jedi going. But it's a take on the redemption arc, and that's So I think it's natural. I know I've told this story a bunch of times on ForceCenter, so I apologize for repeating myself. I'll keep it quick. The comic book writer Marv Wolfman, who's kind of a revolutionary writer, in particular wrote New Teen Titans, which I grew up with, which was just really shaped me. I did the nerd thing when I met him and told him, like, I love that panel where Starfire said this. And he's like, I don't remember that one, kid. Because he's written a million things. Anyway, I saw a panel with him where he talked about how he got into comic books because he really was like, why didn't Green Lantern ever do this? I got this idea for Green Lantern. I want him to do this. And that a lot of the writers in the younger generation are, in his mind, trying to repeat what has come before. And I'm not accusing Star Wars of that. But what I'm saying is I like the impetus of when you love something to want to say, what can I bring to it? What is that thing that you sit there and watch and go, that hasn't happened. And I'd love to see that happen. Those are the ideas that excite me and that I would try to pitch while also having, the utmost respect for the legacy and all the ideas of Star Wars. Right? Like those ideas that get stuck in your craw. And I think all fans have them of like, I would love to see this. And I've never quite seen it. Like, that's a great place to start.
Brian Ward would make a movie where the main characters were all droids and aliens. Humans, only the side characters. Controversial.
Love it.
Yeah. Love that. So not Andor season 2. Okay. Yeah. I can't. I hope you get the chance to pitch those stories. That's what I say.
Yeah, we'll
That's
see.
what I say.
We'll see.
All right, couple super chats to get through. We'll clear those here. How about we clear those? We got some other great questions too. The Professor, what a great name. Any thoughts about the First Jedi movie coming? I worry that everyone pictures something different when they hear First Jedi, and it'll be a mighty task to lay down a solid answer of who that is. As much as I hate to say it, I love Professor. I think you're right, which is one fear I maybe have of the film, just in terms of the reception and almost to the previous question of something that could unite people. I'm excited to explore it, but yeah, already. Is it Prime Jedi mentioned in The Last Jedi in the book, in the Visual Dictionary Encyclopedia? I don't know. Is it Old Republic? Is it prior to that? What's Mangold's vision of that? Like all that. There's already a lot hanging over it, but I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, I think for me it is definitely it's a risky one because I don't know that people necessarily have. Maybe some people do have headcanon of who Prime Jedi is, or if it is Prime Jedi and all that. But I think it reminds me of, speaking of generational perspectives. It reminds me of people falling in love with the mood, the flavor of something, and I think the how did the Jedi start? It's so ancient and so long ago. I don't think it's necessarily that people have specific headcanon. It's that we like the mystery, and from our generation, we like the mystery. George Lucas comes, crashing through the door, Kool-Aid Man like, and is like, I want to. I think he gave an interview where he's like, I thought they would all like to know more about the Force. I thought they'd like the midi-chlorians, and I thought they loved the character of Boba Fett. Why wouldn't they want to see where he came from? And that was our generation. That was Gen X, grousing about that. But to me, it feels a little like that of, I think some people might struggle with, well, it doesn't matter what the story is. Just don't want that story. Don't want to know how the Jedi began. Maybe that is me being too affected by the particular grumpiness of our generation, Ken. Maybe not. For me, I'm really interested in the idea of responsibility of people are aware, like we have this power. Should we do something with it? And if we're gonna do something with it, what are the rules we need to govern ourselves by? That philosophical question is really interesting to me, and that's what I get excited about. What you're talking about, the
Philosophy, the themes, just the plot itself of where, is it the forming of the order? Is it the deciding that we got the Force, we should do something with it? The arguments over that, like, love all that stuff. And I think that's something that's going to be revisited as you rebuild the Jedi Order with Rey and those who would emerge to stand before a new order and in front of it and stop it. So I understand. I'm with the Professor. There's a slight nervous feeling I have, but I'm excited. And I'm someone who's a fan of Dial of Destiny, been a fan of James Mangold's work. As I said previously, even when I forgot it was his work. Girl Interrupted comes to mind. I'm a fan of what he does. So
I don't think we're seeing that movie for a good long time, though. So I think that is I'll take the Star Wars lesson of, like, don't worry about things that are not right in front of you. Don't, center on your anxieties there for myself, because we're not seeing that one for a good long time.
Long time.
Clearing out the super chats. We got a great one from our friend Harrison Gibson here, who says, is with every other time this question comes up, I'm happy to contribute to the Star Wars Celebration Japan Fund. Thank you very much. Do you think Andor Season 2 might explore the tensions between Saw's approach versus Mon Mothma's approach? And I believe Harrison had a bit of a follow-up, so I'm going to scroll and find that. Adding to my super chat, says Harrison, particularly the very real-world tension between incremental change and working within systems versus more revolutionary change and working outside the system. Love this. I think that the Saw part of the conflict might absolutely come into play. There's that real specific mention in Rebels that they went their separate way. I sometimes get the feeling that's maybe closer to the timeline of Rebels that happened. I'm kind of expecting Andor Season 2 to be more of a conflict between Luthen and Mon Mothma. There's so much about Luthen's perspective and his speech that, he has to use the enemy's tools. Basically, like any awful thing is justified to build the rebellion that will burn down the Empire. And I think, Mon Mothma seems to have resisted that, but then seemed to do something that was for her morally on the line with her daughter and getting the funds. I wonder for me if a part of the journey of Andor season 2 will be Luthen's going to build this thing and he's going to flame out, and Mothma is going to take it and basically say, we did what we had to build this, but now we're going to run this differently.
I hope all this is dealt with. This is what is the wonderful meat on the bone for me in this wonderful series, right? Wonderful series. And a lot of it comes to, and I obviously never want to speak for you, but I think we have a general alignment on some of our views on Saw, a character we love because we love what he brings to Star Wars, which are tough questions. Luthen, I think, falls in that category. Again, not speaking for you, feel free to correct me, but just like his famous, loved, celebrated speech, which is wonderful, and a just wonderful, Stellan Skarsgård, one of the best performed moments, I think, in Star Wars is his speech that everyone gravitates to. I still look at it as the speech of someone who is not a bad guy, but is not going to, whose philosophy is not going to win the day. And I think that's a lot what Harrison's asking for. We know Mothma's does in a way, but also going to Rogue One and it's the Gareth Edwards versus the Gilroy of it all, and not bringing up the reshoots or anything like that. But like, I really believe that Cassian Andor in that film rejects what he learned from Luthen. That's what happens. That's how he starts the film with Tivik. That's when he has Galen in his sights and he pulls the gun down, and where he ends up and why he ends up going. So I think if that's the end and we're leading moments up to the start of that film, I'm just wondering. And a lot of that is just wondering what Gilroy himself thinks about politics and thinks about the world and thinks about how do you push change and how fast should you push it? How fast can you push it realistically? All those things are very real world stuff, because I think he's spot on with everything in that series. But I'm curious about where he takes Luthen more than any of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's baked in Rogue One in lots of ways. That everybody who agrees to go with Jyn to Scarif is because they've all done things that they didn't want to do and became people they didn't want to be in the service of this better world, and they needed to make that worthwhile. There's a real sense of regret, and I think it's a complicated and really hard and really sensitive subject, and I think that it's great that the Andor show is well written, because it is handling topics. But I'm very curious to see, specifically to Harrison's point. I almost feel like I want it to be Luthen versus Mothma, philosophically, with Saw as a little bit of an agitator and almost leave room for, in some form, because Saw's doing questionable stuff the entire time, and the great Rebel Rising book with Jyn is, and Leia, Princess of Alderaan, it's implied he's taking out some prequel characters.
Yep. Yeah, the one I don't believe he's in the show to any announcement that I've heard of, but Bail Organa's still around, and I think Bail has. We see in the Kenobi series, to me, that the moment that spoke out to me of him and generational change with Leia, and her saying, all right, I will be a princess. I will go on to these government positions that you feel, that I will, but I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to change my way. And he says, then we'll change things together. That's what's so powerful about it. And a lot of that is at that time working within the system. Not that Bail Organa thinks the system's great, or that he doesn't think there shouldn't. That, clearly he gets involved in rebellion. Clearly, Crate is the base that he helped establish. Time to fight might be, but there's also about moving that ball down so the next generation can kick it even farther, and I think a lot of that's at play. I'm not expecting him in the series at all, but that's an X factor into the Star Wars story.
Yeah, and Jared brings this up. Given that Andor Season 2 will supposedly cover multiple years leading up to Rogue One, I think we could wind up covering a lot of that ground in the evolution of the Alliance in the Mon Sa-Luthen dynamic. Let me be perfectly honest, I forgot that detail because it's been a while since we've talked about Andor. That's a great point, Jared. Or not a point, a great fact. Thank you for reminding me. And that makes a lot more sense to me that the stepping away from Saw would be a great part of that journey then.
Yeah. And we still need 3 episodes to deal with Perrin.
Yeah, no, we definitely need the Mothma shows Perrin the door.
Yeah, and their daughter.
You know what? Go hang out with Sly Moore. See how much fun you have with Sly Moore.
Are you cheating on me with Sly Moore? You can have her. Get out of here. Yeah, and her daughter, Alita's got. I thought some really compelling stuff with her.
Yeah.
The youth going back to the old ways and this kind of rebellious kind of thing. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Great stuff. I'm excited for Andor Season 2 again. Not that it wasn't. It's just been it hasn't been a point of talking.
Yeah. Love the questions coming in. I think we've closed the super chats for now, so we'll get to some other ones. Oscar Film Forecast, Jack saying, just hopping back in. I've been living in Los Angeles for about a week and a half. Any fun tourist stuff I should do before I start my job and, quote, adult things? Love taking questions about Los Angeles and living in this great city. Joseph, you just recently celebrated 10 years, man.
Yeah, 10 years. My wife and I were reflecting. One of the even when we got here, it's like, I got to get to work. and we had no money. And my wife's like, yeah, but you have to take a break. We should go do something. So the first thing we did in Los Angeles is we went to a Griffith Observatory, which is super cool all by itself. You've probably seen it in films and television shows, features prominently in The Rocketeer. It's a great place by itself to go in and look at some science, but it's also just a great vista of both you turn and you look at the San Fernando Valley, and then you turn the other way and you look at the LA Basin. And it just gives you such a sense of place and history. If they still have it, there's a phenomenal video with in a Faraday cage with Leonard Nimoy talking about how they jacked the observatory up out of the ground to build more space underneath.
Oh wow!
And I think it's like the Leonard Nimoy Event Horizon Theater. So like the best name of a theater ever. And I won't spoil it. There's a couple of beats with Leonard Nimoy being just like adorable. So I highly recommend the Griffith Observatory. The Academy Museum is one of my biggest recommendations. It's got some Star Wars stuff, but in particular, the Academy Museum has this 360 tribute to sound and genre designed by Ben Burt, and it is phenomenal. It is a tribute to all of the energy of things like Star Wars. The genre is not less than. It is an exploration of other worlds and other ideas. I highly recommend that.
This is fascinating stuff. And the difference, you're 10 years in LA, I'm at 25, but I also was born in Orange County, grandparents down here, would visit, aunt and uncle all the time living. Now my aunt lived close by, and I took for granted this city, and it's a great city. And I think you and Sarah do a great job of, hey, we went here, and here isn't a theme park, and all. Here is a museum or an art exhibit or a street corner or a restaurant, and it took me a long time to do that. I think. Whenever you move here and you're pursuing things, whatever it is, it's not just the industry, capital T, capital I. It is just what you're doing out here. It's not so much about the big touristy things. It's those little corners. It's going to a little city like Montrose and knowing there's some wonderful things out there. It's spending time in Burbank and going. It is finding the little pockets that have their own histories, and then you can make your own. And therefore you get to experience Griffith Park. I still never been there properly. Been up there, you know what I mean? But it's like I just felt like I took it for I know this city. I've been here. I didn't, and that's one of the things I changed over in the last. Actually, since the time you met me, I've gotten a lot better in 10 years. I felt like I finally got to know my city in 10 years. A lot of it's money, a lot of it's time. I couldn't get in my 1992 Plymouth Colt making $7.50 an hour and go explore the city willy nilly on the weekends. But yeah, and there's parts of history. You know, we're a young country, and this is even a younger city, but there's a lot of wonderful history in this city. Go down to Olivera Street. Go to downtown LA. Be careful, but go downtown LA. Yeah, that's ongoing. And to Joseph's big point that he said at the top here of don't forget to slow down throughout all of your journey to do this.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things that you can experience for absolutely no money. The lobby of the Roosevelt Hotel at the end of the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You can just stroll in there. And you can just sit there and write in the hotel of the Roosevelt, which is like one of the most steeped in history, in old Hollywood history. There's those Pink's hot dogs, chili dogs, are quite affordable, and it's open late. You know.
Well, and Roosevelt Hotel is attached to, was it 25 Degrees, the restaurant that serves spiked milkshakes. Whew. I recommend that. That
is my happy place, because I often go to Grauman's and then sit there and talk about a movie while eating a very, very large burger. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Right. I'm not even getting into cocktail places. Anyway, moving on. We should grab a couple more, huh, Ken?
Yes, we should. Last chance to get super chats and other questions in, though we have a lot that we picked. Go for it. What do you think?
Oh, well, here's this one from Christopher Lamb. Thanks for doing a stream on my birthday. Your discussions are always a gift. How do you guys think characters, your pick, spend their birthdays? Star Wars characters in particular. Yeah.
Look, I'll start with my guy Han. He doesn't really celebrate them. He had no reason to celebrate them growing up as a white worm. Lady Proxima was like, "It's your birthday, here, have a root leaf stew." He didn't get to celebrate them, so he just felt he did not deserve them. And I think one of the first birthday he and Leia spent together as a couple, as a married couple, she made him take time out to celebrate. She got him a little space cake, and he was very uncomfortable with it. He didn't know what to do, but he enjoyed it.
I think he claims he doesn't know what his birthday is.
Oh yeah.
I think he claims like I don't know, had a rough childhood. I don't know. You know, I love the light touch in Solo of what Clearly things weren't great with his family, but exactly how we don't know. And I love that. Absolutely love that. It's really sad. I keep thinking of characters and going like, would they know when their birthday is? I think Grogu would absolutely. If Din knows what, Din celebrates his gotcha day with Grogu, not Grogu's birthday, because they don't know what day Grogu was dropped from a pod on Yothon, which is our dumb joke of where that species comes from.
I agree.
But Din definitely, gets the kid some special snacks.
He does. Mm-hmm. It's like, because of our two dogs, one we know the very specific birthday because it's a papered Chihuahua. The other one, it's the date we got her. That is now your birthday. We don't know. The one I think he would go all out to celebrate it and make it maybe one of those. It's not a day, it's a month. Is Lando? Lando's very aware of when you need to celebrate. Very aware.
Yes, Lando goes to like Canto Bight or every year. There's probably a city that the entire city is a casino. It's one big casino. I think he spends a lot of time there. I think Luke over the years, that's one way I bet that he's different as a Jedi. I bet he has a real reflective birthday. I think Luke probably has birthdays the way I like to. Like he does something fun, but also spend some time to really just reflect on his journey.
Yeah. Do you think Ben Solo celebrated his birthday, but was kind of a little kind of a jerk about it? Like,
I think it's absolutely
a gift I wanted. He'd invited friends over, but he was like, "That's not what I wanted. Why are they there?" Just really unsettled.
I get to hear the conflicting stories of where people were. Was Uncle Luke there or not? Here's what my dad was doing. It's all stories about them. It's not about me.
Yeah.
Poor Ben.
One of my friends was in junior high, was at a birthday party from someone who's rather successful in the entertainment business, comes from a big family line, and that person did not enjoy that my friend had been invited to the party, so they pushed her face into the cake.
Oh boy!
I think that's Ben. That's early signs from Ben that things are amiss. Why are they there?
Yeah. You know who else has month-long parties? Holdo.
Yeah.
Hondo's a big birthday guy.
Celebrate the birthday.
Some great conversations going on as we catch up on previous conversations. And Kelly Kidd saying the repertory movie theaters in LA are amazing. A lot of great screenings in Q&As, which reminds me, my wife came across a great website that some guy just runs out of kindness. I'm going to put it in the chat. That he collects all of the different screenings going on because there's so many, so you don't have to go to every individual theater. If there is an older movie playing, it's called revivalhouses.com. So I put that in the chat there for you. Oscar F. Forecast. Anybody else who might want that?
Yeah, that's wonderful. Love that. Let's see. We got this question from Shmi Monica. Holdo was one of my favorite characters. I'm with you on that. From the new Star Wars, as was her friendship with Leia. I agree with that, too. Do you guys think there's a chance we could see her in the New Republic film or Ahsoka Season 2? I think there's always a chance. I think attached to that is the Leia of it all. We get a mention of Leia. It's complicated to think of, how to bring Leia into the show, as it is Han and Luke. All those conversations we've had before, but the idea of Holdo showing up makes a lot of sense. I really like the idea and celebrating and exploring their friendship even more.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. I think there's I don't mind a recast. Laura Dern is one of my favorite actors, been in some of my favorite things ever with my deep love of David Lynch films as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be really, and I think it would be a great. I'm so excited for the possibility of Leia's stories in that era when she is, really being a politician and has lots of interesting relationships. Her kind of, her relationship with Mon Mothma has been covered really well in books. The sort of the tension and in that relationship, but it would just be a great way to see Leia in this great light of having all of these. Different women that she has relationships with, from Hera to like a childhood friend like Holdo. Would be awesome.
Yeah, love exploring that. I'm so curious. Yeah, Ahsoka Season 2. And I mean this in a great way. I don't know which way it's going to go. Like, do we ever leave Ahsoka and Sabine on the other planet? I think we got to, because we got other people heading back to our galaxy. Do we leave Peridea? I don't know. And how much do you get embroiled into the politics of it all?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Amazing. Well, I think we got just a few more to address here.
Absolutely. Quick one here from Rich T. Completely off topic. I find your opinions interesting. Would love if you all dove into MCU from the beginning. Would that be possible? Anything's possible. Probable is the thing.
Having flashbacks to when I asked my dad to take me to movies. It's possible.
I am a casual MCU fan. Seen all of them for a while. I missed the last couple years, but I'm just a casual fan. It just never, from childhood on, the superhero genre didn't grab me. So, but Joseph, I actually I was clear now. I have to delete photos and videos from my camera phone from my phone for the first time ever. And I went back. I have some 2014 pictures of you on Jedi Alliance, Jen on Jedi Alliance, and you made your debut on Popcorn Talk on the Marvel Movie News show. So this has been in your blood forever.
Oh yeah, no, superheroes are a huge thing to me, and I really love the MCU. And I actually do. I think the modern era films since Infinity War, I think they're really, really good films, and I think they haven't built together to build the same sort of emotional connection that happened. By the time we're getting to Civil War, people were so invested in these characters and their relationships with one another, and I don't think the modern era of MCU has got back to that yet. And I think those films, a lot of these films, are going to be deeply reconsidered in the future. So since I'm talking about MCU, obviously I would love to. It's really a matter of time. Right now, we're experimenting with covering the 5 Daniel Craig Bond films, and we're making those available to patrons on Patreon, and then you can buy them as an a la carte thing. If being a part of Patreon ongoing doesn't work for you for any reason, you can pay a couple bucks and get access to the Bond films. if that continues to work well, then I think there's kind of elbow room for us to make the time to cover other things. And MCU would be high on that list of things that I would love to talk about. It's really about whether we can kind of honestly make the time and the money work.
Yeah. No, it's also a little bit why we've pulled off the coverage of the Star Wars books itself. Business-wise, got to a point where it didn't make as much sense for us as it used to. But and Rich teased, and he follows up and says, superhero genre didn't grab me until 2017, getting into the MCU. Love the MCU itself. It'd be cool to see other theme ideas in there. Yeah, and I had just, even as a fan of listening to you talk, Joseph, sometimes I want to, what I say, unleash you on certain films, even ones that I haven't seen. I was quoting one of your takes to me about Ant-Man 3 to another person saying, well, my friend Joseph says this. I haven't seen it. Joseph says this is a direct call for democratic socialism. And my friend went, well, I didn't pick that up. And that's when those are the moments where I want to be like, all right, let me call up Joseph. Let me call him. I'd love to see your take on the Young Gun films. And I'd love to also explore them. I think I had so much fun doing the Indiana Jones series because those movies were life-changing for me, but I hadn't looked at them in the quote-unquote ForceCenter way, which is not unique to us, but just the way we approach things. So I get it. I get it, Rich. A lot of films, though, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot. And then you're going to do the TV shows, too. Whew.
Yeah.
I would love to talk about Young Guns because I think I've seen the first one. I don't think I ever saw the second one. And
God damn it.
That's so influential to you as a person and your tastes. Like, because I'll watch them and enjoy, like, what they mean at the time they were made, how they've aged, but also like how did these seep into young Kenny will be a fun way to look at it too.
Love it. I'd love to get your take on Young Guns series, but two is Young Guns 1 is a movie, 2 is a film. There you go. All right. We do have to get rolling here soon. We got one super chat coming in from our pal David Taylor. Hey Ken, hey Joseph. In honor of your MTV Unplugged episode, how do you like your albums to end? A soft ballad with a song or a rocker? Oh, that's a great question. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Hit me.
I think for me, this is going to be shocking that I'm going to bring Guns N' Roses into this conversation. Rocket Queen is the perfect end to a rock album. Because it starts with like a great funky beat rolling on a hi-hat. Anyway, it starts out pretty hard. And then it changes into an absolute quintessential power ballad where the emotion is soft and empathetic, but it's totally the energy is like a true power ballad of it's big chords, it's big soaring drum fills and big soaring vocals from Axl, but the emotion is a much, there's a lot of anger on the album Appetite for Destruction. And the emotion is beautiful and empathetic. All I ever really wanted was for you to know that I care, is the way to end this, one of the most hard rocking albums ever. It's a perfect combination of a banger and a ballad. Great way to end an album.
Love. Oh God, this caught me off guard. We can't stay forever. Oasis wrapping things up with like Champagne Supernova or Big Ballad like that works for me. My favorite ending to an album is Semisonic's All About Chemistry, their 2001 album, I believe. Their final one of that era. They've come back. After this, they released an album called Live at First Avenue. I didn't understand the reference till I met Joseph. I knew it was a venue. They have the album has wonderful songs, but it ends with a 1-2 punch of a song called Surprise and a song called El Matador, and they're these emotional ballads. One's about change, surprises. I'm going to surprise them all, and when they look, I'll be gone, gone, gone. And then El Matador's got just this bittersweet, somber, but yet hopeful tone. So the album takes you on a journey, and then you just end. You're looking towards the future. Tom Petty's Wildflowers ends in a similar vibe with some of the songs. at the end of that album as well. Highly recommend. That's one of my all-time favorite albums. But Semisonic ended. It's my favorite ending of an album. That 1-2 punch of those two songs.
That's great. I got to check that out. That out.
Love that. Oh, we could talk about music all day. Thank you, David, for getting that.
Phenomenal.
All right.
Yeah. I think we got what I think we should end on this one, Ken.
Got it. How do we end our album here today?
How do we end with a soft ballad? A soft action figure ballad. Rich T says, should the figures go back to the old naming ideas like Snaggletooth and Walrusman, etc., but for current characters? I posted about the Acolyte trailer. In one of the shots, there's a great little alien weirdo. We all love the alien weirdos. Little kind of insect-looking guy who's got some sort of tongue or probe thing in the soup. There's a slight sucking sound mixed in. It's very subtle, but it's there amidst all the boom and the awe of the trailer and sound effects. There's a slight, and I made the joke that character's name should be Soup Sucko. I think I would love it if some of the background characters did just have ridiculous names and their action figures came out like, we don't have a real name, so this guy from Solo is Card Bunny. Deal with it.
I love Therm Scissor Punch is perhaps the greatest Star Wars name of all time. Rich, I agree with you. I like where we're at. I like we have the Walrus Man has an identity and a history and a purpose. I love that, and wouldn't want to unintentionally insult these characters, but there's just something sweet about that era too. If you know, the feeling of going, I got Snaggletooth. What?
Is there any character that you would like specifically named with that convention?
Well, yeah, like Jared brings up, there's no word for Claude, but Claude, nothing else does him justice. I think that's right. I was going to say Blob Guy, or Armless McArmy, like something like that. But Claude is the perfect name. Yeah.
You know what? That's such a popular thing now with vinyl albums, with comic book covers to do variants. If Hasbro wants to make more money, give me the variants. Give me the character with their real, proper, respectful name, and then give me the crude production code name edition. That's where some of those things came from. I was like, I don't know. We didn't call him Walrus Man on set. That I want to buy an action figure of Claude and an action figure of, as Chris says, Blob Whiskers.
Blob Whiskers.
That's what we called him on set.
Yeah, and then Whiskers. Brian gives the one that's in ForceCenter lore is the name more than Lolito Prima, but Vat Weirdo is got to be the name. Yeah, and Jay from Nowhere brings up Sleaze Bagana would have just been drug dealer. would have been death stick dealer. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Or Antenna Drug Man.
Yeah. Antenna Drug Man. All right. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. We're about ready to wrap this one up. Another 2.5 hours of glory hanging out with you all. We'll be back at the end of April as I celebrate my birthday mid-April. So, final thoughts, sir, as we head on out.
No, thank you, everyone, for all the great questions and the great thoughts in chat and the great reminders of anything that's slipping our mind. It's so much fun to do this broadcast. It is also a discussion with everybody, so thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the super chats. And no official ForceCenter to Japan fund, but we appreciate what you're doing to help us get there. We love it. All right, we'll be back next week. We should announce a programming mishap that our Bad Batch episodes, what are we at? Episodes 10 and 11?
I think so.
Our episodes 10 and 11 review and discussion will be later. Like, we're talking days later. I will be in Boston next week with Mark Ellis. It was just going to be impossible to record either from a hotel room or logistics. So sorry for the delay, but we will get to those episodes and release them Monday the 8th. Wanted you all to be aware of that.
Yep. So we'll have even more time to let it sink in, and can't wait for the next episodes of Bad Batch, and we will be discussing them.
That's right. Hope to see some of you in Boston, too, for those shows. Go to my website for information. Check out Joseph's website if you want to get information on where you can see A Nightmare Adorable. And predict, guess, tell us what is the part that the section, the clip of my acting, I guess, that gets people laughing. You put it down. Put it down. You know what I'm saying. All right. That's
Exactly.
it. We're out of here. We'll see you all soon. For Jennifer, this has been Force Center Live. Bye, friends. Bye.